Okay, welcome Nottingham to review the budget workshop here. We're going to do the, which one are we going to start with first? Are we going to do the highway?
Yes.
Okay.
You want to do the pledge first?
Pledge allegiance at all?
Well, this is a workshop. We can do the Pledge of Allegiance, but I'm for it if you want to do it.
Totally up to you.
All right, let's do
I'm
it.
good either way.
All right, let's call it
Tense.
Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Play ball.
So where are we starting, highway?
Highway Department. And so it would be line item 259.
Line 260.
All right, so you can ignore the narrative because I don't really see how that fits in there. That was carried forward from last year. So this is for the overtime for the department, and it's just based on full staff of 4 full-time regular equipment operator, truck drivers, and the overtime at their current pay rates.
Most of the overtime is consistent with snow plow in the snow season. That still seems a little low to me. Do you know whether we were over?
So the projections, or the actual expenditures are through November 15th. We're just shy of 20,000.
Of course, we haven't had a full department all year.
Right.
Okay.
But they don't normally work overtime in the spring and summer anyway.
Very minimal,
Yeah.
only if there's a special project.
But through last winter, I mean, we're pretty much fully staffed.
Correct. Well, no, last winter we were not fully staffed. No.
And it was no, it kind of kept jumbling in and out there. That was last winter though. And then any storms up to December 31st can chew through the remainder of that.
Correct.
In highway salary, does that represent a new
Director.
director?
Yep, so it would be the 4 full-timers and the highway director.
In the highway. Okay.
Wow.
Steve Rollins, having been on staff now for about 4 weeks, he really hasn't had a chance to digest the previous budget that was adopted, so there was very minimal changes made. I told him that I would go through and make sure that the wages were at least covered for the current staffing levels. And then other than that, the only adjustments that were made to the rest of the line items, obviously I reduced the supplies budget because last year we had a pressure washer that was being replaced for $8,000. We did go over on some of the supplies, so that budget was reduced by $5,500 overall. And there was...
And you don't foresee any shortfalls this coming year? One can hope.
We can hope, exactly.
Yeah.
Brian has been very diligent since he's had full staff on to kind of keep up with the general maintenance and making sure that there's enough supply for if something goes down, we have a backup part without obviously increasing the existing budget, so.
For the mowing and vegetation control, is that so low year-to-date because it hasn't been billed? We haven't been billed for it yet? Because they did a lot of that in September, right?
Well, that and our subcontractor has had staffing issues and equipment breakdowns, and obviously the rain delays in the first part of the spring and summer. So a lot of the roadside mowing that he intended to get done this year was not done. I think he only ended up doing like I think it was Freeman Hall Road and maybe one other small section of town. And I think there was 8 roads that he had earmarked to be done this year. The vegetation control was for the Japanese knotweed program. That was part of a 5-year contract. This was the final year, and there is still some growth detected, so that will continue on, but that portion of it's been expended. It's just we're short on the mowing, the roadside mowing.
So that's have to increase next year, possibly. We don't have to, but
Right, we can just continue on with the road. I mean, it's been several years, but that it's been delayed,
yeah,
so it needs to be done, but it's whether or not we,
had the money to do it.
correct.
Okay.
The 265 contracted grader services and stuff like that, that doesn't really show. Is there another line where we were doing the grader services?
So most of that would be for the subcontracted grader services, and again, we were at the liberty of the same contractor who does the roadside mowing for us. Staffing issues and,
He's not working out very well.
I will
I mean,
say.
it is for budget purposes, we don't pay him for anything, because he
Well,
doesn't do it, but, you know.
Except for you cut other things now to make money for stuff, and then you go through and you're just sitting there, and you're like,
That's what I'm wondering, if we cut that.
We do currently have 2 experienced grader operators on staff, so we might be able to.
Use our
not-
own?
Yes. And not have to rely as heavily on subcontracting it.
that's what I was kind of getting at, 'cause I thought 2 of the new hires were
Correct. They are both
Grader.
experienced grader operators.
Actually, it brings it up to 3, because Steve's also.
Oh, yes, and our highway director is as well.
correct.
So we could basically cut $5,000 off that budget? If we had, I mean, this is what we're here to discuss right now, we're not just going over numbers, we're talking what we're cutting.
Yeah, I was just.
So we could make that number, hired highway equipment, from 20 to 15.
Do we do the street sweeping? Do we do, like, it just seems, do we expect anything else to come out of here, or do we make this more realistic, like 10?
Well,
Which item are you guys?
think about it this way, guys.
265.
The hired equipment.
There's,
We sweep all of the parking lots, I believe.
but again, we have to find, how do you want to start this? Do you want to start it off, say, as we look in the back here, where we need to be to get the 4% cap, where we are on this budget,
Yeah,
okay? There's a difference of $500,000. So instead of going, I mean, we should probably look at, my way of looking at it, is looking at everything we want to cut.
Does that factor in the default budget?
We're still gonna need quite a bit of money to cut. The default budget's gonna make up $500,000. Is where every 5,000 we can knock off a line item or something like this is gonna, I mean,
right.
it's inevitable. Things are gonna have to go off this highway budget, if you're looking at it, I mean, there's gotta be $20,000 that we have to cut off this thing. Somewhere.
Just on the highway?
I'm just saying highway, for just use that, and again, we might have to do more, but we gotta start looking at every single department and saying every department, okay, is there 20, 20, 20, 20, or depending on their budget-wise, what we need to do in order to make that come up to that number that we need to get to the 4%. It's not a fun thing to say that, hey, the $5,000 we take off here, maybe this down here doesn't get swept. Maybe, I mean, it is what it is.
Right.
We hope for some good rain to keep it clean. Right?
Doesn't work that way, John, but.
I know, but I'm just, let's, I mean, there's a wants and needs, and I think what we have to really focus on, in my opinion, is we have to really focus on the needs instead of the nice extra things that we, even some of the grading of the roads. I know it gets bad, but that should probably happen more along in the springtime when we need it with the mud season and stuff like this, and, they might get a little bumpy later on during the summer, but
Hopefully now it'll just be part of the standard. One guy could be assigned to do it.
I think we need to look at moving things into warrant articles.
oh, that's a whole nother, where I thought about coming here tonight was, again, not to get off the subject of what we're looking here, but we have to discuss a night where we're gonna sit here and say, okay, where do we wanna put for warrant articles? But first I think we have to make our cuts here in order to see what we're gonna have to go towards what we might need to make a warrant article of.
So I would say just starting at the top, I mean, I think payroll is gonna be a tough one to cut, but looking at line 263, I would propose cutting that down to maybe 10,000. If we're not spending it, why put it in the budget?
But I'm looking
We
at.
overspent that.
Yeah, by 50 grand.
What's that?
We overspent it by 50
Two,
grand.
I'm sorry, 262.
Okay.
Oh,
It's on my
But-
spreadsheet. It's
Okay, but getting back to what, cuts here, I have a hard time making any cuts to any line items in this highway budget. If we're $50,000 over budget on snow equipment contractors.
yeah, but
It'll
last year,
if at the same price, at the same amount that we had last year, we're gonna budget again this year.
But you're
We're already
70 grand.
$50,000 over.
But you're 70 grand under budget and payroll. So those two kind of offset.
Right.
I think we're playing a dangerous game there.
Well, it's the game that has to be played. I mean, we have no choice.
The number
playing that
has to
game.
be,
I think we're starting to cut services, and that's gonna affect the,
no, but we're talking piddly stuff like roadside mowing that wasn't being done.
For the past couple of years.
yeah,
all of a
and,
sudden
and,
we
and look, it's allowed Japanese knotweed and invasive plants
she
to
said-
continue to flourish.
She said that
That's-
the knotweed program has been,
It's only a 5-year program, right? But we have it other places too.
so what's your suggestion, Ben?
It,
The number has to be smaller.
Yeah, a lot smaller.
I get it, but now we could talk about putting stuff into warrant articles. We took $100,000 out of the paving last year, and we're 3 to 5 years behind on paving as it is. I think this is as important that the folks at home need to know that this 4% tax cap is really gonna start affecting services here.
yeah, and guess what? That's the problem that they're gonna face. When they see the services aren't there, those are the people that also voted to keep the 4%. Hey, it is what it is. Some people are gonna suffer because other people wanted it. It's just a natural consequence of what happens.
Personally, if we want to cut something out of the highway, I'd cut the hired equipment, because we do have grader operators, so we could probably
Do
cut
we
that.
have it? All right, that's a start.
We could probably cut that in half.
Right.
All right.
But that includes, so for your winter plowing contracts, you think you can keep winter plowing paid contracts under $32,000?
well,
$35,000?
that's the hired equipment plowing line, that's
Yeah.
the $75,000 one. I think the one
Right.
Steve's referring to is the hired
265.
equipment
Okay.
for the 20,000, so reduce
Okay.
that to 10,000, correct?
That was my thought.
Yeah, I originally looked at that, make that 10,000 overall. I mean, that's about what we paid for the year anyway.
Didn't we barter services for sand and all that stuff?
Really.
What happened with that? I mean, do we have enough sand to get us through next season?
They're working on it.
So,
They've spent most of the fall screening it, so there is enough supply in the pit to continue to make our own winter sand.
so this 65,000, I don't mean to be jumping all over the place here, but line 270 is 65,000 proposed for,
There is still other aggregate supply that we have to purchase, the crushed stone. I think we're purchasing loam as needed,
Gravel as needed,
gravel as needed.
maintain the dirt
It's the stuff
roads.
where it washes out on the
Yeah.
road edging.
general road maintenance, so many dirt roads.
Is that salt quote pretty accurate? The
Yes.
whole thing's-
Yep, so the salt quote is based on state bid pricing for both Eastern Minerals and Morton Salt. We do most of it through, I think most of our consumption comes from Morton, so that's based on a per ton price. I think last year, we estimated about 1,700 ton. Obviously, we didn't purchase all of that, but based on last year's budget, we should still be able to meet that if we need it. The new highway director has a different perspective on the use of salt than
Not as heavy?
predecessor, correct, so he does not
Well, that could save
anticipate
some money
going
there.
over.
I know there was some complaints in regards to the street looking white versus brown.
Yeah.
Think?
You know. I know Nottingham's very conscientious about the environment, so I mean, if we can get away with not using as much salt in place of sand,
Yeah, but we have to pre-buy, don't we?
yeah.
We have to sign a contract that says we're going to at least
By
use.
X amount, right?
Penalized if you don't use it.
We haven't been yet.
Okay.
So has everybody looked over the highway? Do you want to literally go from one item down, start on 259 and go right to 280 and say, as we a group here, leave alone or cut?
I think so.
I mean, we got to move this along. 'Cause
Yep.
We'll be here all friggin' night. If we don't get through, if we only get through two of these,
Happy.
I'll feel like we haven't got,
I think we're gonna be in for a long December, folks. Probably gonna have to have more meetings and so on. To,
So on 274 highway fuel, with the cubes, I mean, we're looking like we could save money there.
Well, we have the cube at Smoke Street, it's been there, it's only 500 gallons. I mean, right now, they're utilizing the WEX card for their major diesel purchases.
Which is the majority of what they use, right, diesel?
right, and that's gas down there.
Yeah.
Well,
It's both at the,
There's a diesel and a gasoline cube down there.
the diesel that's there, is that the road or the off-road?
I think it's off-road.
All right, so we can't use it for our trucks.
right.
It's not the right color.
And it's taxed. It's not taxed, yeah.
I
that
understand.
might be more like the excavator stuff or the grader stuff.
Yeah, the loaders and all that.
But showing we have like a 20,000, but we still have a beginning part of winter season that, so don't want to mess with
We
that
had a lot
number.
of staff to not run the trucks
Huh?
last winter, so. We didn't have the staff to run all the trucks, now we do.
Right.
So we should leave that line item alone.
Do we need to?
Well, and I think it was also based on a higher, I think this was calculated on $6 a gallon, not knowing what the diesel prices were gonna do last year. Again, we still don't know what they're gonna do.
So I mean, if I go through the highway here, 262, highway mowing and vegetation, cut that in half to 10,000. I don't see it, we're not getting anything done. That's 10,000. 265, the highway equipment construction, cut that in half, make that 10,000.
Wait, 265?
Yep. Because we have the grader operators now, so that's just money, all we're cutting right now is just fluff that's not even being used. Like, we haven't made a hard cut yet. This is just trimming what, close to where we are. Go to the next page. 277 engineering, do we need to leave it at 20,000? Have we been anywhere near that?
We do have,
Like, if we make it 10, does it hurt us?
So again, new highway director, new different. The old highway director didn't want to do anything, not picking on him, but didn't want to do anything without having an engineer. So this number got budgeted way higher than what we've ever had possible, because he wouldn't do anything without having a full, I mean, even from just repairing a simple culvert,
Yeah.
he had to want to get a whole engineering design done. This item should be definitely cut in half to 10, in my opinion.
$30,000 we've just made to the highway department.
Well, it went from 20, I mean, you're talking Highway 277, line 277. We haven't set it 20, I think the line should be 10.
That's what I'm saying. Then do that.
We've cut 3.5 is what he's saying. for
Those
total.
three things
Oh,
right there makes,
That's 30 grand. That's a step in the direction. but-
right, and all I'm saying, that's just cutting the crust off the toast right now, like we can get a little bit sharper later.
Right, I think you should move probably your,
I mean, if you think that salt number could come down to like 100 grand, there's,
100 grand for the salt number?
well,
if he's not gonna use salt like the other guy was,
you can't cut it 100.
I'm not saying
cut it to
cut
100.
it 100, cut
Okay.
it to.
Two, one.
I guess we need to figure out what is required for us to purchase.
Clarification.
So we estimated 1,700 ton at 7207, which is the contracted price. We're at 122,000.
Did we sign our-
122,519 if we use all that we've
We
estimated,
never use all of it.
We still have salt from last year, don't we?
yes.
So I just feel like this is if you put it down to 1,500 tons, you're still at 108. Like, I feel like there's a ton of
So-
margin in this to,
The
The
pricing
number should
per,
probably be 100, we should probably
the
take 22
pricing
grand
per
off.
ton is about the same as what, I think it was $69 a ton last year. So we're talking $3 a ton difference, we still only expended 95,000. So, yes,
If we bought 1,000 tons, would the price be different, or it'll still be at 72?
still be the same.
That's 72,000 right there.
just seems like that's and if it got really bad, there are things between now and whatever that we could then flex, but for a budget purpose, if you want to cut.
Well, this is where you're gonna find out that flex is gonna be, as this is our second or third year going into this, the amount of flex we used to have
Yeah.
We're losing it.
is now we're losing it. Now we're coming to where it's gonna be, what we flex this year on next year.
Yeah.
It's gonna make it that little bit,
It's gonna be tighter and tighter.
every year it gets tighter and tighter. I think this one should go to 100. I don't know if we should drop that much, but again, we don't have to buy that much, but at least it's in the line item for it.
Right, and then
That
again,
would
that
still
saves
move our
you,
needle 50 grand, 52,000 off this highway department budget. That's 10% of what we're looking for.
What are you proposing?
Making it
Knock
just
the
100
salt.
even.
Just take 100 tons off?
no,
No, make that line figure $100,000.
271 highway salt.
122.
And then we've cut 10% of the budget off the highway, which is getting to where we're trying to cut. That's a significant number.
And then between now and whatever, we can have Steve take a look at it, and maybe we can actually, if he can get us a realistic number on that.
I mean, again, if we have to come back later and fine tune it, there might be another 15 coming off that budget.
Right.
I mean, again, but, you know,
I think that there's definitely
I'd rather see us cut so much and then go back and say, we need to find X amount, 50 grand more to cut. And then we'll start going through every line item and start saying, okay, we can do another 1,000 here, another whatever here, and start really hammering it down.
yeah.
Are we leaving anything for budget to do?
Well, trust me.
Trust me.
You'd rather not leave it in their hands.
It, those cuts are so,
So, all right, you're proposing slash it to 100,000, take 22,000.
That's, again, it's the board decision. I'm just saying.
What is the
that's
rest
my
of the,
opinion,
how does everybody
so.
else feel about that?
I feel that seems the new director does not want to use as much salt. Doesn't seem that we've been using as much salt. That puts us above what our year-to-date was last year, which was a pretty messy winter as it was, so
Tim?
Yeah.
I think it's,
I'm hesitant, but that's what you guys want to do.
Okay.
We had a real mild winter last year. We didn't,
We had a lot of ice storms.
I just hope they got enough sand prepped.
yeah, like, the roads were a mess. I don't know about mild in terms of temperatures and stuff like that, but
All right, so
I'd be interested in see
We're
what we
taking this
used
down to
last
100.
year versus years before.
we're taking this down to 100?
For now, yeah.
Okay.
yep. 271. Right on that color.
And then did we talk about dropping down the hired equipment and the vegetation and mowing.
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah, I
Each of
have,
those in half, and then the engineering consulting at least in half to 10,000, which is line 277. So that should be a total of
52 grand.
52,000.
52,000 we took off the highway.
So it'll bring us down to a bottom line of 810,011, right?
Makes you feel a little bit better. What's line 282?
So 282 last year, just to keep everybody informed, we took over, we took 100,000, I think, off that line item last year and wrote it to a warrant article, which we added on, for the roads and stuff. You know, and I think that, I don't have the book in front of me.
400,000.
400,000.
400,000.
Right,
It used to be 3 and 3, and I remember
Correct.
part of the, you had to move one over, so it became 4 and 2.
so this, that might become 5 and 1.
So here's
It could
the,
change.
so was that 400,000, of that $400,000, how much, do you know how much was spent?
Yes, in the warrant article, all of it. We actually expended all the paving to the warrant article and left the residual into, it was 464,000, and I believe there was some additional invoicing that was due.
So I think in the future, we should spend the budget first, just because the warrant article goes into 2024. The way it was worded, it didn't lapse in the current year, because you've spent it next year.
Well, we can always make that adjustment too.
Because then it gives you more cushion if you still have $200,000 in the warrant article.
So why is it this year that we only have 200,000 for,
Still written the same.
Because that's not the warrant article, that's the budget.
This is just the amount that's in the operating budget. The remainder of it is sitting in the warrant article.
still sitting in the warrant article?
Well, no, it's not. That's what we were just saying. We've expended the warrant article before the operating budget, and we can do a journal entry to change that.
What's the anticipation this year for,
As Ben said, we're 3 to 5 years behind on the paving project,
Right.
so if you want to continue on with the pavement management plan and trying to catch up, I would say at a minimum, raise the same amount.
I wouldn't be in favor of cutting that.
Well, again, we can continue on and keep that in our back pocket as
Yeah.
something to discuss.
I would leave that alone unless we absolutely have to.
Yeah, well, because again, we just add it to the warrant article that's pre-existing and cut it. I mean, that's what.
Okay.
But you've got $144,000 that we didn't spend this year.
Right, but as we cut through this whole budget and we
Yeah.
get to our bottom line of
Yeah.
$5 million, you know, which we can't absolutely overexpend. If another department does go over or something, I'm not saying we need fluff in here, but there needs to be a window that we don't overcap the actual amount that we're allowed to spend legally from what we set our total budget to be. You know where I'm going?
No, what I'm saying is that would give us $144,000 that wasn't spent this year on paving that we
Right.
could use for next year in addition to whatever we wrote for a warrant article.
You might not, he's saying you might be able to cut the size of the warrant article.
No, I wouldn't cut it.
No?
I'm just saying,
Okay.
without increasing the amount for the warrant article, we've got $144,000 that wasn't expended this year, we could expend next year in addition to whatever we add to the warrant.
No.
No,
only-
that goes in the
only if
general
you-
fund.
Yeah. Unless you have it contracted.
Well, the
to
way the warrant article
encumber.
read is that it can be spent for a year from.
Yes. The warrant article, yes, but not the 140.
No,
That's
but if you,
if we reverse it so that
Right.
we fully expend the operating budget line
Correct.
item
First.
first, then yes, you are correct.
yeah.
So getting back to you, whoever, I think one of you made that statement, we spend that first next year.
Well, this year we can, just by doing a journal entry.
Right, but
Yeah.
just 2024.
But to John's point, we have to watch that and make sure that the rest of the operating budget isn't going to go over because right
that's
now.
where it gives you some cushion.
Right. So that might be a decision that we're making as we get closer to year end.
Because it just, I mean, I don't want to say, look what we, but salaries took a significant increase this year.
Yep.
which I'm sure some of the little leftover money that we might have had went to that. Again, I don't know, because I haven't seen those final numbers, but I'm saying that that's where that extra. I mean, we can't cut everything down, like, if people don't run a budget, you need to have, you know, the ability to move money, you know,
Right.
somewhat in there. The budget is designed for us to have a forecast of what we expect our expenditure to be. You know, one item goes over, one item goes down, that doesn't mean, that's where we need that money to be able to shift
Right.
and never go over our general, what we're allowed to spend.
Should we just kind of continue going down into the recycling center?
Absolutely.
Solid
Perfect.
waste?
Belong.
Is that 284 solid waste?
Correct.
Yep.
Oh, this is employee, yeah.
We went through the salary line is all updated.
Yes, so that was the only area that got adjusted, with the exception of the collection fees, disposal, so that's reflective of Casella Waste Management, any other bulky waste commodities that we have to get rid of. So, Waste Management, we just updated the contract for another 5 years, and it's reflective of the increases that were part of that 5-year contract.
See, this is a budget area where, I don't know there's nothing that we can cut, in my opinion.
No, they're on bare bones as it is.
Labor.
Yeah, okay.
Well, you got 4 guys working. Do we need 4?
Yeah.
Well, the problem is if you drop down to 3 and somebody's sick or on vacation, or, that's what we're in into the summer. is
But maybe we can stagger them a little bit and save a little bit of money.
We're only open 3 days.
Yeah, but maybe we have 3 go on.
I don't know if they'd even go for that, but that's,
Who cares if they go for it?
well, if they quit, you know how hard it is to find somebody to actually go in to fill in to get a new person there?
You're
It's not
gonna do
like
it,
we are.
right?
Cheaper than McDonald's.
Again,
Well, it'll reduce the complaints, wouldn't it?
if we just close, we're not gonna start, I'll leave myself my opinions of our recycling center out of here, but
Yeah.
it'd be nice to have an extra $100,000, you know, with some fees, but we're not gonna go there either.
I mean, but that's the only way,
No.
that's the only thing you can cut, if you wanna cut.
Steve, you're saying salary you cut? Eliminating the
Well, I
position?
think you can restructure the man
Now it's-
hours.
Right now it's based on 4 employees at 32 hours a week. So it's the
And
3
we did-
days plus the
and we-
day that they're closed to the public, but setting up for the next.
I don't think you need 4 guys on Monday.
But we've determined for that to operate safely, a minimum of 2, right?
And then we didn't have enough staffing, so then when he was sick, he had to be there, because if he couldn't be there, then they were gonna be shut down.
So I'm just saying, maybe you could stagger people, so you could do 2 guys.
3 people.
From 8 to 10, 11, and then bring in the other 2, so now you got maybe full staff for part of the day, or maybe the 2 that started early, that they leave.
So reduce their hours from 32.
I'm just thinking out loud that maybe we could restructure it a little bit. Not that we're saving a lot of money, because it's not, well, I mean, it is a fair amount of money, but.
Well, I mean, again, the problem with the recycling center is the biggest, I mean, collections and disposal fees. It's a $250,000.
No way around that.
Trash.
There's no doubt we have to rethink that process. Maybe you do a pay-to-throw type of program.
Sure. I mean, when people see this, our proposed budget, you know, for next year, because of the increase we're going into, for disposal fees, the fact that employee fees go up, I mean, right now, we're looking at our town recycling center on the proposed budget, not what we're sending it, but what we're looking at here, is $380,000.
And that's the problem, we don't get paid for anything anymore, you can't,
Yes.
recycling is, it's not
Recycling is not profitable.
anymore. Unfortunately.
So now this is
Never
just
was.
another expense that the town, as we go to residents, where, you know, when you have that 4% tax cap, and people who want to use the dump, excuse me, the recycling center, you know, it comes at a cost. Something's gonna have to sacrifice in order for the recycling center to remain free. Well, not free, but remained, residentially user-friendly. I don't know how you wanna say it, but.
So you're saying you wanna leave this alone for now?
Hey, I'm open for anybody to make any suggestions on cuts. I just don't personally see where we have anything in there to cut.
Based on the year-to-date expenditures for the salary line, it probably is high. I mean, we operated this summer on 3 for the most part. There were 4 on weekends.
And we only went up to 4 because we thought one was going out on long-term disability. Which didn't happen, but.
No, I thought that was highway. Was that highway? That was recycling?
Yes.
Well.
We do have
again,
2 licensed operators over there now, so. And hopefully soon a 3rd,
So when one's not there, we're still okay.
yes.
Until they ask for a pay raise. Because longevity always requires more money. The longer the employees stay, more they're gonna request. Kind of inevitable, right?
More training they get, more
Sure.
valuable they are to somebody.
Just inevitable.
Right.
But anyways,
Again, I'm
let's
just,
move on.
we're talking, well, are we talking about taking, 10 grand off that salary line? Or are we gonna keep it the way it sits and do no cuts? Where are we on this?
We flag it, but I think cutting it right now, I'd rather have more information as far as how much time is needed over there before we make further cuts to the salary.
Flag it. I agree, I mean,
I think we
our
could
year
do it
to
with
date is
3.
way low on it, but,
But we were short-staffed all summer.
correct.
Okay, on a Saturday, they have a family outing, and you're down to 2, because they're going away. It's not like we're gonna say, no, if you come in, we're gonna fire you, because we're not gonna tell them that. Because, I mean, it was being real here.
So where we going?
So what if it was, you just making 100 even?
I mean, you'd have to look more at that would be cutting hours, not rate of pay. So then you'd have to look at who's.
Well,
who
who's
just
that one
limit-
person? They're all getting 32 hours? Well, how is that possible then?
Not every week, because some of them don't work.
This is just budgeted
Yeah.
like that, but they don't do that.
It's pretty close.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna table that one for now? Or what are we doing?
I don't know how you would you split it out individually, or how would you?
I mean, you're going to, so one, again, we're on the subject, and we'll just finish my thought process. If we're budgeting this at all 4 employees making at $32 an hour. Right,
32 hours a week.
at 32 hours a week, sorry, not 32 hours an hour, right? Wow. Excuse me, at 32 hours a week, I mean, to start asking those guys there to say, okay, you on one day can only work, you're gonna work only noon to 5, and then you work noon to 5. I mean, for scheduling, that's also makes it more complicated too. I mean, there's other things to go when we start trying to tight who goes on, who doesn't, you know, I mean, we're allowing them to, you know, punch a clock or,
And with the,
I just
Do they
think,
punch a clock now? Mm-hmm. Right.
I think the 4 is, I don't know, I mean, I don't think we should reduce to a third person down, so I don't know where the budget line's gonna go on that.
you're saying keep it at 4 or reduce it to 3?
I'm sure we have to keep 4 people.
Yeah, I'm not saying that we cut a person, I'm saying that we cut hours. So
But then I
does it
think, but then,
rotate?
my problem, again, I mean, without talking and without knowing, then the job seems to be less desirable, because if I was, again, I don't know, I'm not gonna speak for them because I'm not there, but, you know, saying to somebody, I'm working 32 hours is a lot better than telling somebody they're working 24 or 26. You know, I mean, it's a whole, that can be significant.
How many hours is the dump open? Is it
We're
open
open
32 hours a week?
24 hours.
9 to 5, 9 to 8 hours.
24.
So 24 plus the extra day. You know, do they need 4 people on Monday?
No.
So they all come in, is that the day they all come in?
So, yeah, again. So if you cut that one person that doesn't come in and only put 3 people on, it's 52. That's 416 hours you're gonna cut over the year, at 52 weeks.
That's only cutting one, we're talking cutting 2 on Monday.
I don't know what they need. I don't know how many, if they do need 3.
What are they doing on Monday besides getting the stuff ready to be hauled
You're asking
away?
the same question I am. I don't know. I mean, one's taking the recycling, who's gone.
So that's why if we
Taking the
flag
10
this,
cans, the
we
other
can
one's
come
doing
back
this.
and revisit this.
Yeah.
Instead, because we've already probably spent too much time on it
Right.
now.
Oh, okay.
So where do we go from here? Do we go back to the beginning? Have we reviewed all of the,
Social services, which would be starting on line 316.
What is this specifically?
So these are all the outside agencies that provide some type of a support or assistance to Nottingham residents. It would be like Child Advocate Services, RSVP, Lamprey Healthcare, Seacoast Mental Health, Meals on Wheels, all of these. So these are just based on requests. Each of the agencies will write a letter to the town requesting an appropriation, and that letter will contain the information about how many residents they serve, or,
I don't see how we can cut any of that.
What's that?
I don't see how we can cut any of that.
I think you can.
I mean,
The
it's
residents
this.
using it.
I don't, not- that
Two of
total
them merged
budget item's too small. I'd be more, I'd tell them to be smarter with salt before I would tell them to do this. I mean, this is, there's nothing we can really touch there.
One of them combined, right? The Ritchie and
yep,
the,
Ritchie and Waypoint
Waypoint.
combined.
yeah. So as it is, they came under budget, so. We're
Those were
now,
all zero, but then you got, earlier this year, you didn't have numbers
they're-
for them, but,
Correct, I was.
At budget.
okay.
you know, maybe we really should cut conservation.
You go propose that now.
Huh? No, just joking. I thought it was very interesting when he come in and asked for so little money. If everybody came in and asked for that, it would be
All right, so we in, Gracie, sounds to me we're in agreement that we leave social services alone, at least for now.
Yep.
Yeah. Can't touch that.
Okay. What else there,
Are we moving into rec?
Yeah, I think those were the only ones that you have not
Seen
officially
before.
reviewed. There was a couple of line item changes that were discussed at Budget Committee.
Under rec?
No, not under rec, just,
Using stamps.
there'll be the
by
other
$100.
ones that are in like that salmon color.
So,
Guess where you wanna go from here?
you tell us, what do we,
Probably back to the beginning,
So election. Salaries.
executive.
did we ever get those 2 or 3 departments that feed into one straightened out? Like, how the town clerk and then the elections and everybody else was doing?
Yes. Yeah, so you saw, like piecemeal presentations from the town clerk and then
Yep.
the elections, the supervisors. I believe those are all squared away. The election salaries for the supervisors, that one was reduced. There was a revised, budget worksheet that came through from Deanne Decker, and so that was reduced down to 20,800. I think the original one that you saw was in the neighborhood of 24,000.
Is the rest of it, budget difference and percentage all still correct?
Yes. And that's the difference between one election, or, yeah, one election, we actually had 3. One planned, 3, and then next year we had 4.
And then, is this the one, the election printing, one person wanted it zeroed out, but then somebody else still wanted it? Because they were like, oh, we're just gonna zero this out, but I was like, I don't think we wanna zero, it's a $5,000 budget item.
Well, because, so, it was zeroed out, but we still need to print the checklist printing and then the actual,
Like Dee didn't need it, so she's like, ah, you can just zero it for me,
right,
but it was somebody else, I think.
yes, that was the town clerk side.
Okay.
So if it's a state election, they provide the ballots. But for the town election, we have to.
Right.
So there is still a cost associated.
Should we need to be like line 1 in Marchtown, or
What was that?
do we need to go right to line 1 in just Marchtown, or are we, what's left to?
That's where we're at. You have the full budget as it's been presented, proposed. So yes, that would be my recommendation. Start at the beginning and see what you want to tackle.
okay,
Do we need our salary?
that's totally up to you. I didn't take a salary this year.
The $15,000? We don't need to budget, like, we don't have to take that, right? It's just a question, I don't know, I mean,
You can
I know it
elect
was
not
part-
to. You
We
can
cut it
elect not-
last year.
yeah.
Well, we cut a portion of it last year.
We could do a silent vote.
But I'll publicly say, you know what? For the amount of times I come to the meetings, this meetings, the other meetings, things I attend in town, you know, not that I love Nottingham and I'm proud to be able to serve the town and do what I do here. You know, but there is a little bit of a nice thing to get a little bit of a stipend to go, you know.
Well,
Since I minimally have 4 meetings, I mean, this week I have 2, maybe 3, you know, if we feel, I mean, it's time consuming.
I don't see anything in that executive department that I would cut, personally. Pretty flat level.
Again, this is where we go. So as we go through here, we just went through 5 departments. Right? Went through there. We've only cut 50. So,
450,000 left to go.
and we just, so this is where I'm telling you, where it's gonna get, we're gonna get real quick.
And I think we, I mean, there is definitely money that needs to be cut, but I think we also have to look at the tax cap as a whole. I know that there was conflicting guidance from the previous administrator and then your interim town administrator as to how you get to that 4%. I read the Warren article again, I brought it with me today, and I don't want to get off track too much, but it's 4% on the amount to be raised by taxation. So in order to calculate that, you're looking at your operating budget, you're reducing it by your revenues, you're doing the same type of calculation that you do when we set the tax rate, essentially. So it is, you know, whatever was approved at town meeting this year, and you're reducing your revenues estimated, you're adding back in your war service credits, and it should be 4% over that bottom line.
What is that number?
That's
We're
what we
not
don't
ready
know.
we're not, yeah, I don't have it calculated right now, but
Well, so then we should need to know, then we're wasting our time here if we don't know right now that we need at least maybe 350. So as we go through here, we should know as a group where we potentially need to be, you know, within a certain amount of money.
Right.
So that we can actually, we're not just sitting here hypothetically everything.
and that's why I gave you the revenues tonight to just kind of play around with those figures.
To be clear, which was made clear at the last town meeting, the 4% is what the budget committee, signed by the selectmen, can present at town meeting. And then whoever shows up at town meeting and wants to make
At deliberation.
deliberations, and they want to increase line items and put it back up to 5 or 6% because they want, you know, they want to make sure that we have $200,000 for road paving. Somebody can do that at the meeting, but we can't.
Remember, they have to get the votes at deliberation to get that to happen.
It's not as many as you would think.
Well, I've been, I've
Oh, no.
sat at it, I know exactly.
So,
So, I mean, I just don't want you to look at this, so when we look at the bottom line of where we're at right now, I mean, there is that line item in there that says a 4% cap number, which would be taking the 2023 adopted budget and multiplying it by 4% to come up to the 5,044,000. I mean, some of the things that were proposed by department heads is, you know, we had, let's take rec for example, we had an entire position that's funded solely out of, with the salary and the benefits, that's funded solely out of rec revolving funds. Now, there isn't anything to say that those rec revolving funds can't still come in as an offsetting revenue, but that total position is now in the operating budget. So we have to look at the revenue side, is what I'm saying. Don't just look at this bottom line and saying, okay, we have to chop $500,000 off the top. We should have offsetting revenue to support that one position in itself.
So again, my question is, what is that number?
Right.
That's all I just want to know what the number is, so we can,
Because it's not 5 million minus 2.7 million,
Right.
the revenues.
The revenues.
It's not the budget
Oh.
minus the revenue.
that's over here.
All right, so, the executive department, what are we looking at, anything?
I say leave it alone,
Okay.
just my personal opinion.
talking about, where are we, elections?
No, executive.
Executive, now we're on to the town clerk,
down there,
26.
1 to 25.
Just kind of moving
Start at
through.
26.
Are we by law having to have the newsletter? I know I like it a lot, but
No.
So just FYI, I mean, everything is available on the internet.
That is a lot of money.
yeah. It's $8,000.
Right.
I mean, again, I read it every single time, when I leave it there, and my wife thinks I'm crazy, because I keep it there for like 4 days, and I browse through it, but, you know, that's me for what, you know, here, but if only 500 people are actually using it, and we're mailing it out to everybody, and it's not that valuable, then, you know, it's $8,000.
Technically,
It is
it's
things,
$9,200.
Well, that's what it was, right? So again, we're proposing 800, so I don't know where that number's off, or do we just kill that whole line item there? Again, I'm here to talk about numbers and what we can do to cut.
Right.
It's not a popular discussion that I'm trying to have, but it's, I mean, is that something that we need still in this town?
It is something that people like due to the small town charm, still having that small town newsletter, but I think that it would be,
Get about $1,400 in advertising revenue.
out of it.
Maybe increase the cost of an ad.
Yeah, okay, that's.
Can I just say something?
Sure.
I'm on the newsletter, and we have talked about, because it is available online, but lots of overseers, especially, they're not online, and they can't get it. And it's been a constant discussion, so it's really not, it's not been received well.
What if like social security, you make it available online if you're under the age of 60, but you mail it out once you're over the age of 60?
Yeah, and it is, especially now that there's no more, it's a little paper that just went under here.
The
right?
forum.
The forum.
There's no form, I mean, nothing in that, it is just a local newspaper.
Right.
For just locals. And, yeah, it's a tough one, I know, but.
I like it.
But what if it was made available for pickup? If you'd have to mail
There
them?
you go, you've got that same thing, you've got people that don't drive, they don't get out, we do have an elderly
So-
population.
And I'm gonna sound really terrible right now, but somebody has to say it, so I'm just gonna say it. Remember, we have to think about the majority.
Well, we don't want our
This,
seniors
this,
left out,
again, the newsletter is, I don't think I mean,
but if that's their only means of, getting their information.
And it's all volunteer.
I agree.
It is totally volunteer.
Okay.
What's it going on in 20 years? We did increase advertising costs for 2024. They are going up, and that's the first time they've ever gone up. It's probably not going to make that big of a difference. We have a lot of advertising in that little paper as well. There's a lot of ads.
So what are you saying, cut it?
Flag it.
Tim just brought up 10 minutes ago, cutting the salaries for the selectmen or asking, do we need to get paid? So if we're talking about everything on the budget here. There's nothing that's gonna be,
Yeah.
there's nothing that's off limits.
Steve?
I say flag it and we'll come back to it. If we need be, then that's another area we can,
Matt?
Should've brought a highlighter.
For what, the newsletter? I agree, I mean, it's definitely something to flag, and I don't think it's gonna be cut tonight or not. I'll definitely make some inquiries over the next period of time, try to see, like, are people using this and stuff, just try to,
Again,
probably the people that read the newsletter are actually watching right now, or 90% of the town is just like oblivious to what goes on in the background.
Okay. Are we all set with the executive now? Or is there other areas we want to look at?
Well, last year we cut our town report. That was printing, that was a big expense. Did we actually ever find out the number of how many books we had left?
We have handful.
So we worked out,
Next to
that
nothing.
number actually worked out
Yes, it
decent
did.
for that
It
discount.
actually
Okay.
worked out really well. We scrounged a couple just to make sure that we had multiple copies in the archive.
Okay, that's just,
Wow.
I guess when we start, we're looking at that merit compensation pool. We'll move that line item too, because,
So technically, the increases are reflective in the departments. I had to have this
that's-
conversation with the budget committee,
I was just going there, right. To make sure we're,
so.
What's
it's-
that?
The merit compensation pool, nothing has been expended. The actual increases are hitting the reflective departments for any increases that were granted throughout the year. So it's just there as a placeholder to offset the department increases.
merit pay increases.
and again, that's, right.
So the question was, are you looking for a more transparent budget where you see realistically the individual departments budgeting for those merit increases, or do we put it into this pool with a potential figure of, let's say it's anywhere from 4 to 6%?
My company generally does a pool, and then everybody picks from the pool, like, and they'll look at how the Seabrook Station did performance for the past year, and then they come up with an array, like, all right, the pool is this much this year. And then they let the departments kind of all bite off from that pool or whatever, but that way you don't let the pool ever exceed a certain value.
And I think that's the way, so the change that I made this year was because the police department had factored in their merit increases into their operating budget. I reduced that amount by that department alone, whereas the rest of it's calculated. We actually looked at the CPI index for the Northeast region, to see what that cost of living adjustment is. But again, that's not merit, that's cost of living adjustment.
And also, last year, guys, we gave every single department, I think, more money. I mean, police got more, highway got more, fire got more. I mean, we went around the board and to meet the fact of what was happening with inflation, we stepped up and did all that.
Right.
So-
Even the recycling center.
Well, some people got raises, that's,
Yeah, they were making like $7 an hour.
well, again, right, but that's, again, it's.
Bringing them up.
So, I mean, again, this is where we come into discussion what you said, you know, the police already figured their merit into their budget as a
Yeah.
number. So you average the 6 employees there, or 8 employees, I don't know, sorry, I don't know that number off the top of my head. You know, whatever their salaries are at a 5% or 4%, that's a big number that she's already added in. So that number possibly, if we wanna flag it, we could probably
So
look
it
at that
could
maybe. being
potentially be reduced if you do the math.
10
on it.
grand reduce or 15 grand reduce. I mean, we can't take it all the way out, that'd be ridiculous, but, you know, next year, again, we did a good job this year of getting it. We can't every year, it's unfeasible for us as a nonprofit organization, the town, to give everybody every year a 5% increase in their pay. I mean, we should just.
Not when we're limited in other ways.
Not when we're limited, exactly. So it's,
Correct.
not that we're gonna freeze people that do an exceptionally good job next year. Sure, you know, if they deserve a raise for some reason, that's why we should have some money in there to provide that, but.
I think having
They wanna
one
go
big
across the
pool,
board like we did.
no. The election stuff, there's not much we can do about any.
Town clerk line? That would be the next one.
Like, just the number of people they wanna train up and like bring on and increase the size, and it's just like, like the salaries for election workers jumped way high because she's bringing on a lot more people.
Well, and again, because it's 4 elections opposed to 1, 2.
And then the new training, right, wasn't there? So- Is that this week?
Yep, there's.
Yes, because we have the presidential election.
Did we just skip over the town clerk?
We did.
Are we good with that one?
Is oh, her thing's so big, sorry.
Start at 26.
It doesn't end normally because it has such a big narrative on the side. That's why it didn't look like an end. And so then the town clerk and then the deputy town clerk are both paid here, but then they're paid,
When they work the election, comes out of the election budget.
but doesn't the state,
That's on their salary, that's why their salary item is listed at what it is here, because that's a different pay.
okay,
That's not actually due to us, that's something the state's paying them as a benefit,
okay.
I believe so. That's why their number is the way it is. They don't do that job for just that price.
Right. This is nothing we can really,
There's not much you can actually.
I don't see anything.
That's where, like, line 26 and 29 go together.
yeah,
You got that?
yeah.
Okay.
Moderator.
And they wanted the laptop for elections.
I think they were kind of required
Plus the
to.
temporary clerk could use it if they're both in the office.
Oh, you're talking up onto the town clerk?
Yeah, line 33.
Yep.
I mean, you're talking pretty small potatoes.
Yep,
So we go to the town clerk,
for now.
okay? Election workers. Salaries.
I mean, as it was clearly pointed out, we got 4 elections. I don't see how we could,
No.
Can that come out of like a different budget? Like, what does it have to hit? Like, I know we have to supply the stuff, but it's hard hitting your budget as hard as it does out of here, but it's like mandatory stuff you have to pay for the state or the feds or whatever, like, comes out of a different bin.
anything else in the election department? Nothing?
Well, we remember Dee's conversation, you know, because of the 4 elections, the killer is there is the 1,200.
What were we? Supervisors. I know they wanna go up to 16.
They were approved up to 16 this year in 2023. I think they were at 11, maybe,
Ouch.
11 or 12.
And for what they do, I mean, for the people that don't know, who haven't sat through an election, I mean, it's brutal.
Yeah, they do a lot.
Yep.
For everything counted, to make sure everything's checked and done, and, I mean, we don't really ever are off our number. But again, that's that's where we get proud of what we cut,
No,
you know?
exactly.
This is the one, advertising, she wanted to make 0.44, but then it had a $6,000 actual expenditure on it, and I was like, that seems like a line item, I don't know if we want to make, because she's like, oh, we didn't use our $500. I'm like, somebody put $6,000 on this line item, I don't think we can make it 0 and just be like, we'll be fine. Like, somebody's putting money into this.
But she's saying this year is, the change was that we don't have to publish in the newspapers anymore.
But this money wasn't even hers, this 6, I don't even think was her.
5845.
Yeah. She's like, oh, we haven't spent any money on a line item, like it was like, the way that the election one kind of goes back and forth, I thought, that's the one that always confused me, is they dropped it to 0, she's like, oh, we're not doing that, we don't need the $500, I'm like, but where is this money coming from? Or what did we?
What did we spend it on?
Right, and do we need to at least have it be $1? And nothing else for election.
Financial admin. Nothing really stands out.
And these are just standard numbers, like the $1,200 for mortgage research or anything like that, like the number only came in for $500, so is that just how many?
Yeah, it depends on how many are subject for leaning.
Okay.
Well, so we're on, just, we're going through line 49 to 71, right?
Yeah,
Well, again, I know we say right now, it looks pretty cut and dry, but we gotta find $5,000 out of there. Anyway, because we still haven't cut anything. And the point is, what we're supposed to do tonight is to take some numbers off here just so we can move ahead.
But right now, as we're rolling through, we're still back as when we started here at 6:30, besides the highway department.
Yeah.
So I mean, even when you sit here, if you say, hey, we gotta cut 5,000 off here, and start cutting it, if it's 500 here, 400 here, 300 here, 200 here, I mean, however it gets there.
So my question is line 56.
Because if we don't do it, we're just not doing anything.
Can I go back to, not that I need to bring up elections, but the 5845 that was expended out of the election advertising budget? 537894 was for deliberative session. It was the recording of the deliberative session. That was something that was not budgeted, and it was put in that advertising line. So with that being said, it's also not budgeted for 2024.
So people at home won't be able to watch it, is what you're saying, right?
Or we overspend that line item like we did in 2023. So I do,
I just was like, there's a reason this number's coming in for 6,000. Nobody's thinking it's being spent, but
yep, that's where that got put. So $5,378.94. So we can,
maybe make it $1, but just,
Well, we still don't have.
it's not in the budget, so it's not a number that we'd have to cut out. It's just gonna come and hit us on the tail end.
Again, that's not good budgeting. We gotta put it in at a number, we're gonna have almost $5,000 line item for
What?
something. We can't leave it off and just do what we did last year. We gotta write it so people know where we're spending that money for.
Deliberative video.
So yeah, there literally have to be, add another line item somewhere to say, hey. Now, does that go under, I mean, that's not elections, or is it elections? Does it go, I mean, where would we put it?
it's part of your town meeting process,
Which is part of elections.
correct?
So, I mean,
Yes.
Sure it belongs.
So
Personal opinion.
if anything,
me,
that line.
Steve, I don't know where it goes.
You've got the mark. We can't make it $0. It'll have to be $1. We'll have to figure out if we're gonna put it there.
Can rename it.
It
Yeah,
can
but
stay
we-
advertised. Well, you're not.
Well, it's not really advertised.
We're not advertising anymore anyway. We'll just rename it to
Yeah, we
something.
can rename the
but
line
again,
item.
so on the purpose of this budget here, she wrote it that as now, like, we don't, a zero number, where we know we have to put that back in. So we're literally have to find, we're adding another 5,000 toward the bottom line that.
Or we don't
Televise it?
televise the deliberative session. That's a $6,000, 5837. $6,000. I'm sure somebody's getting a pay raise somewhere in there to videotape something that you have to be present at to be part of.
I'm not the unfriendly guy to cut, I'll cut. Hey,
But
sacrifices.
we can double check if it needs to be.
Isn't there?
I don't think there's a requirement that it has to be
Well,
live.
if somebody says, is this gonna be televised, we gotta be able to say, no, it's not being televised, so if you don't go, maybe that'll increase turnout. I don't know.
You look at the Reader's Digest version, half the time it's being live streamed from people on Facebook anyway, but it seems like there's gotta be a cheaper way than $6,000 to get that, whatever.
Okay, we kind of beat that one up, so.
How'd you do it in the past?
You know what, I have no idea.
I don't think it wasn't televised, because it was town meeting until 3 years ago. It wasn't deliberative. The deliberative has been shorter and shorter each year, but the town meeting wasn't televised live.
It wasn't?
No.
We're not required to film it, so then if we didn't do it for the town meeting, why are we doing it for the deliberative?
I don't recall why it's even in there, I don't know why.
So then we'll just cut it.
Perfect.
We'll cut it,
Hey, we're still
Not televise it? Is
not
that what you're
televise it.
saying?
net zero.
Well, it doesn't change what we're talking about tonight.
No, it doesn't.
No, it
We
does.
know that we're not gonna spend the money, so.
Yeah, Well, we didn't increase the budget by 6,000.
There you go. That's how you look at it.
All right, so we're done with that one, right?
I hope so.
All right, so there's a couple of things when I was looking at the financial admin one here, line 54. You know, so far 16,000, it was budgeted, they've only used 12,750.
We still don't have our final audit report, though. So there'll be a balance billing
You think it'll be pretty close to their?
due.
Okay. Postage,
think?
4,000 is what, you know, was budgeted, they've only used 2,600.
And this is mailing out the vendor payments. So it's gonna, I mean, we did have a postal increase, but that is probably an area that you could safely.
Do you think if we cut 1,000 off, is that too deep, or? No, should we go a little more conservative,
This
500?
also includes the tax bills as well,
There's those.
the postage to mail out the tax bills, which
Haven't gone up yet.
So,
haven't gone out. Correct, thank you.
So
a
we'll,
member of the budget committee always likes to say, you know, online, online, online.
I did it.
Yeah, you as well.
I think Tracy reported that there's only a small percentage, so it is on the tax bill that you can sign up to go to receive your bill online, but we can't require people to.
No, but we can encourage.
Yeah, I mean, I did it.
Yeah. And that'll save postage in the long run.
You know, last year I forgot that I did it. I came in looking, hey, when's the bill gonna get here? I was like, oh, wait a second, there it is on my email. So,
So, but getting back to postage, I mean, do you think it's,
we'll use that for the tax bills. It's probably gonna go over.
it'll go over 4,000, you think?
It's at 26 now. It's only 1,400 bucks for tax bills.
Okay.
But the line above it,
what line
Budget
does that
Committee
say?
Secretary, line 56. Why do we only use 288? It's not. Do we not hire somebody,
We did, so Alana Kenny is doing the recording of the budget committee.
But are we, so is that from Alana's job as,
I'm not sure if,
Just
I'm
delivery
not sure if
jobs
it's
now
been
from the town.
split out and allocated to this line item or not. I will have to check with Betsy on that and see how often
Isn't there
that's
a way we can
done.
cut if it's not?
well, because again, well, that depends on, yeah, again, how we break this out, because Alana also does all the minutes and everything for the planning board, but she's also the planning board, we don't call her the secretary coordinator.
The land board secretary.
Yeah, whatever, right. Does a great job, absolutely.
She does.
Then she's there, but then she's also the deputy town clerk. Mm-hmm. So she's actually filling in.
She's got her hands full.
So I just don't know, I mean, is this part of her salary, or is this, I mean,
It should all be split up separately. But and that's what I'm saying, I don't know if, when Betsy does the payroll, if she'll make an adjustment at the end of the year to hit each of these departments. I'll have to look and just see if that's reflective. I mean, the budget committee has only met 3 times this year.
Met in January through, but still, that was only what, 3 meetings? Maybe 4 in January?
Yeah.
Line 62? Do you believe that they'll hit the 10?
Yes.
Okay. And what about 65? For this year? Well, this is for next year, so,
Right. Again, it depends on how many properties are up for leaning.
yeah.
well, the good news is, Tracy Black did tell us that that number is actually down this year. Significantly compared to past years.
Do we feel comfortable cutting anything from that?
Well, if we don't go in any type of recession next year, we don't have to worry about the tax leaves, we might be okay. I don't know, how do you wanna play it? Throw the dice. Okay,
Steve?
Well, you could make the number lower. And if for some reason something happens, right, then you're like, but we're talking, if you make it $1,000 or $750 or whatever, like you just have the number be $750. If it requires more, I'm sure that there is a few dollars somewhere else that could be flexed around to cover you up to that. It's not like it's gonna, it shouldn't jump from like if we budget that down to $750, jumping up to $1,200, I'm sure we could find that money somewhere. But it would be at least the beginning to the cuts as a
I
potential.
like round numbers. What do you say, just 700?
I have no idea, like, yeah, sure.
Tim?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a, fuck, whatever. 7, sure. Street postage,
Anything else in that? No, that's pretty much it, huh?
yeah.
Assessing.
Why doesn't Avatar fall under here?
It does contract assessor. So there's Avatar, which is our assessing software, our building permit software, and our tax collect software. So that's our support. And then our Avatar contract assessor falls under this budget.
Okay.
So, line 82, we're at 5,000, which was budgeted. They want 6,000, and they've only spent 2,400 so far.
And we have a bill coming in for the tax map updates that went into effect for this year.
And you'll think that'll be closer to 6,000?
Yeah, I think our contract with CAI, GIS, which updates our tax maps, I think theirs is at $5,000 a year.
And then you got the line right below it. They didn't spend anything this year, and they want an extra $100 for next year.
Okay, and that's the Avatar assessing, so we have invoices that just came in a week ago.
Okay.
They bill at the end of the year for all of them.
I don't see anything in. What do you think, John?
What, in assessing?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what's the dues and conferences? I mean, it's $100, but I mean, just. Is that for Kelly?
Yes.
Even though we do have John from Avatar that's here, is it still John?
No, it's not John anymore, it's
We have one that comes in and he's here every
Chad.
Thursday or every other Thursday?
once a month. Chad,
month?
correct. So Kelly, so the dues and conferences would be if we had a membership or if we paid dues to like New Hampshire assessing officials, which gives us access to a listserv. The conferences would be, you know, any specialized assessing training for Kelly. A lot of the times, Department of Revenue will do these mini series where they'll take a topic like timber excavation. It's a half-day course. It has a $20 fee associated to it. Those pop up throughout the year. It doesn't seem like she's been able to partake in any of those this year. I mean, if you wanted to reduce that, I could probably eat that in the executive side for
Dues and
dues and
conferences.
conferences.
So you're saying we could cut that?
If you're looking for $100, yes.
Not really.
Again, I'm just,
I'm just gonna,
We got bigger fish to.
Oh, yeah.
All right, do you want to come back to that one, or are you still looking?
I'm way ahead of that.
All right, so, legal. Well, we're over that,
Is our normal year.
and you suspect that we're gonna be over again next year?
She's budgeting. for the same
Potentially.
level.
And
I
the LE
don't know
enforcement,
what you're going to,
say again?
you don't know what you're gonna have for legal needs, legal reviews throughout the year.
Remember that legal attorney fee goes, that is not just us.
Right.
That's any time, any board, when zoning says, we should have this contact the attorney. Or planning board says, no, we should contact the attorney. And trust me, I've been on enough planning board meetings where it's come up this year more than a handful of times. And I'm sure, again, I haven't watched every zoning board meeting, but, so, as the boards rely, because, again, this is an opinion, so I'm not gonna say it, so we'll just move on, that it's
Okay.
reluctant that, I mean, our Nottingham zoning ordinances now is a 40-page book. And it's written to the point of like a lawyer almost, where it's, something's gonna be interpreted, and this is where it's gonna come into. Anybody that comes in to judge or or a subcontractor, legal for this, legal for this. I mean, chances are we might not have anybody, but could be in there.
LE enforcement, that's not the prosecutor, right? That moved to
That's
the
under
police?
PD.
Yeah, no, that's not the, I think that's, specifically for, like, if, Dale, as a code
Okay,
enforcement
okay.
officer, has legal items.
All right,
It's not really broken down, I think it's just all general legal.
all right. So it's safe to say, we're all set with legal then, right?
Sure.
All right.
Besides increasing it, I would leave it the way it is.
Yeah. Personnel, admin.
Health insurance is reflective of the 15.6% increase. It isn't all reflected there because it's based on current staffing levels. FICA Medicare, all of that is reflective of the wages that have been presented for all the departments. This all flows through from a separate worksheet.
There's nothing there we can touch, right? That's,
Well, you can't touch retirement.
no, but I'm saying like it's all pre,
But the retirement number, is that, like, for the police department, is that based upon
That's
salary
based on New Hampshire
31%?
retirement, correct. That's based on the salaries that are
So
proposed.
that's like 10 grand higher than what, if you add the salaries.
Which if you look at their salary line, that had a significant increase.
No, yeah, but if you add that, multiply it times the 31%, that's 221, which is right there. I was looking at the line below. $2,000 though, there's $2,000 in gravy there, I'm telling you.
You might wanna come back to that 2,000. And again, I mean, we might be giggling and stuff here, but again, this is,
Mind blown.
we're gonna find the one comma we misplaced. This one's gonna make it so that's.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, Samsonite, it's not 50, it's only 5, fixed it.
So unless we reduce the number of employees in payroll, there's nothing
the
we can do
only
with this
way
whole
to-
section anyway. so.
Right.
So on the planning board, John,
Yeah, what do you wanna know?
what can we cut?
There's nothing in there. You're gonna cut.
So the planner, which, again, and this all reflects, from my being on the planning board 13 years ago when I first got on the board or whatever it was, to being on it today and seeing over the course of the years. When we first got on it, the building inspector, who was a full-time building inspector at the time, as part of his salary was he sat on the board. Every planning board meeting he was there.
and he'd go over the denials, and he'd go over everything, and he did that, right? We don't have a full-time building inspector now. The amount of hours that goes into this, we don't want to. Here you go. Now we hired the planner. Now, is the planner necessary? He's very helpful towards what's going on. And again, it's because our regulations in our Nottingham zoning and building every year keeps getting bigger and bigger.
But so year-to-date, though, you're at 18,000, the budget's 28. And it says they're gonna expend and easily exhaust the current budget. How do they plan on spending
Again,
$1,000 in 6 weeks?
there could be another bill that's coming in that hasn't been paid.
I think that carried forward from last year's comments.
I was gonna say that. I believe
You know,
I've
could
seen
we,
that
hey,
bill.
you know, if we can get away with cutting 4,000 or 5,000 out there, absolutely go for it. If we could have the SRP only come to one meeting instead of, you know, every single meeting, and have them only come to one, the planner? Sure. Because a lot of times, you know, he's showing up to the meetings, and again, I love the planning board, I've been on it for a long time, but a lot of times he's coming to the meeting, and we're paying him to come, and we're not discussing anything new. It's already a subdivision, we're on our fourth time on talking about that subdivision.
So who decides whether or not he needs to come?
Well, he's now comes to every single meeting.
Oh.
It's not, we're not using it as, we need you to come to this meeting. He's just booked every single meeting. Is that a discussion for me to have on Wednesday? Sure. I mean, I'll have it with the board.
Or
I'm sure it's not gonna be
Or even-
favorable, but.
even the planner too, just be like, did he self-regulate him to that point, or did it just become expected?
Well, what he does is like all these, you know, you're talking about a 25 lot subdivision.
Yeah.
Now, that 25 lot subdivision, you think, oh, it's not just this, it's, you know, he's looking at road grades, well things, looking at wetlands that we're going through, looking at, I mean, there's environmental impact, you're looking at regional impact, I mean, it's vast, like, it's not something, you know, that's, so this is where, you know, us as a board, as members, we sit there, but again, we hand it off to him to get and this is what he does. He studies this way. You know, we're very fortunate to have some of our members on our board that are really knowledgeable about it. But again, we have an outside eye looking at these very large and complex subdivisions. You know, and this is where this is what he does for the board. Do we need him to do it as much? I don't know. Could we probably expect that to be when you look at the big ones and, you know, maybe have him come once a month or, but again, I don't know if that's part of the contract that we have with them and whether that would be, is that doable or not? I mean, Blair's great. You know, really knowledgeable. But again, back in the day, we had the building inspector was the other back set of the eyes. So he was the one that was taking all the time to go over everything, and we got our building inspector now that does it, Dale does it, you know, and goes over things, but this guy goes into all the details on everything from wetlands to this, you know, environmental impact studies, reads them, tells you what it is, and then exhausts even all our zoning ordinances on, I mean, you guys understand if a brook goes by that runs, you know, a brook, as long as the water's constantly running, you have 50-foot setbacks from this, you gotta look for vernal pools, I mean, there's just, there's tremendous amount that goes so that the planning and conservation go hand in hand when it comes to subdivisions. But that's a line item right there, getting back to after my spiel, maybe there is a potential of cutting $5,000 off that number. I'll ask on Wednesday.
So come back to that one. Or do you feel comfortable making it now?
Like 103.
You know what, I'll ask their opinion, and then I'll come back and we're gonna make the decision whether what we do is what we do, but
Okay.
I'd rather get it to be, you know, upfront with them. I don't wanna be cutting stuff or saying, you know, without even at least giving them a voice or you know, to say something.
Right, okay.
The line item for the postage just says it's a reimbursable expense.
So we have to, any planning board notices need to be mailed certified to the abutters. So the applicant at the time pays, depending on how many abutters there are.
Right.
They pay that portion up front as part of their application process.
We're
but
getting
we
it
have to
back, though,
go-
does it need to be $1,000? Can we just make the line item just say $200? I mean,
Potentially, yes. There is other,
$1? Actual postage that is not reimbursable? Would that be like in its own?
Seems like he was happy of cutting that almost entirely,
What?
when he came before the budget committee.
Who?
Ian McKinnon was here to present.
Oh,
What line was that?
The postage, 103.
just make it $1.
Yeah.
Save $9.99. Dues, do they actually going into anything? Make it 100? Or are these like the trainings we,
So again, it's a $500 line item. You know, but, you know, with the state, with any dues and conferences, I mean, you guys even know with this board here, state likes to have their conferences Monday through Friday,
right?
where, you know, the majority of people that volunteer for boards
It's hard to make those.
are working Monday through Friday.
Right.
So I mean, this is where an expenditure here, I mean, there is a lot that changes on this. It is valuable to go, but I mean, you can technically cut 250 off that. I don't think it's gonna make a difference, because I, with the board that's on there and the amount of new members that are sitting on there,
They need it.
I don't think, no, I don't think we need it at all. But again, you would hate to tell somebody that's volunteering to go educate them more to do a better job for the town, that there's no funds for them to help educate
Again,
them.
though, right, it comes out like, it was not that there's not funds available, like we would find the,
That's, yeah,
it's just like when all of a sudden I went to the, which one it was, like last minute, I was like, oh, can you sign me up? She's like, yep, all signed up, and that came out of the line item. I mean, everybody will get the training if they need it, I'm just saying, we can reduce this, like we just cut that other one, we can cut this down to make it $100. And,
yeah, I mean, I don't know how much a class is. I don't think they're that expensive anyways. So, I mean, I think this invitation of the 500 is that if 3 of the members are actually going to attend 2 classes a year, or something like that, which I don't think that's reasonably happening. So again, if that item goes to $200 and we drop 300 off it, I don't think that's gonna make that big of a difference. As long as there's something in there for at least somebody to,
yeah. We've always taken care of anybody's training that wants training. So drop it down to 100?
you want 3, you want it to 100 or 200? You wanna go 100?
Yeah.
Then same thing with the planning board advertising, since that's reimbursable. Would you drop that down like you did postage, since it's getting paid for by the
Applicant.
applicant?
I'm for that, $1. And that's,
So, just want to make sure I'm clear. 105, we dropped it to 100?
Yep.
All right, and we're talking about dropping 108
Oh, wait.
to $1?
Why did we expend 2146 last year?
Because it's still the notices that have to be published, but that's also part of the applicant's.
it doesn't show the money that came in that actually covered that.
Okay.
So they just amended their fees to cover advertising costs.
We did it.
Yes. The Board of Selectmen
The
did,
Board of Selectmen did it.
on the planning board's recommendation.
Correct.
Such forethought. Foresight of us.
Let's cut 3,000 off that budget.
Well, line
Right.
115, you can look at cutting that.
I mean,
115 is the set, that is the dues that we pay to
Oh, yeah.
Stratford Regional.
We cut it last year and they voted it back in at deliberation.
yeah,
And we can try to run that same scenario.
Gary Anderson will be
Gotta
right
look at some
there
hard
again.
numbers here.
Gary's, I remember that whole, when he gave his spiel onto that.
Yeah, but Gary's no longer on the planning board.
No, but he was a member of the committee that. 111, the mileage,
So, do you want, wait, no, that's a serious conversation right there at $7,000. Or $6,665. Do we wanna cut it and then hopefully deliberation puts it back in?
I'm gonna flag that one.
Yeah, we've cut 3,000 from,
Didn't we join?
That is joining it.
That's the
That
cost.
gives the town of Nottingham voting.
For years, though, we weren't a part of it.
We weren't, but I thought we voted last year that,
we did.
and we are now currently
Yes.
a member. Now you're saying you wanna go back, yourself back out.
And then have somebody propose it in the deliberative session to put it back in again.
I think technically though, because we were voted as a member, it's,
I think you should leave it alone.
but line item 111 for mileage,
No, I'm saying 115, but
I understand that, but I'm just saying for 111 for mileage,
Mileage for what? What do they do?
it just says that mileage may occur for
Conference,
conference
and then
or
if-
recording items at registry. We can
Right now,
just-
the applicants are actually going to the registry and recording their own plans, the Mylars. But potentially, if they didn't opt to do that, then we would
Saying
have
drop it
somebody
to
as a
$1.
runner.
Drop it to $1. It's just a placeholder in case we need to, but everything gets passed off to the applicant anyway. We made a little bit more headway there.
Are we leaving 115 alone?
I think we gotta leave 115
I
alone.
would,
And then
personally.
line 113 for legal services, to John's point. So if they reach out to legal and need to talk to Susan about something,
Technically, it falls under the general legal line. I think this is more or less a placeholder where if there's a certain applicant, again, it would be a reimbursable expense. Correct.
Drop it.
Already is.
It's see that, again, that's a good point.
Oh, wait, no, this is for, this is subdivision regulation updates, warrant articles for zoning. So this is the review for proposed zoning ordinance changes. I think that should stay.
okay.
Or we just,
What are you reading?
But they haven't spent anything year to date, and there were,
no, because it's just falling under the general legal services.
Review subdivision regulation updates, warrant articles for zoning. I mean,
You're
that
saying
sounds like
cut
an old one.
113 down to $1.
yeah, because I have a feeling it's already been encumbered under the other legal line. They're not separating it out. Right?
Well, yeah, you'd have to ask Betsy if what she's doing with that.
Well, there would be it's 0 right now.
Well, so we think that, so Betsy's gonna tell us that it's coming out of the other line.
Right. But I mean, I guess to my point, it's up here or down there,
Right.
but it shouldn't be both.
Zoning?
Also, hey, we did make some room there. That's,
Again, secretary, $0 last year.
Well, because again, she's being paid, again, I don't know why this is the way there, because the zoning secretary is still the land use clerk secretary. That's still Alana.
Planning board and zoning.
That's planning board and zoning. Yep.
And budget.
And budget.
You know,
Budget, minutes.
What's that?
Budget minutes, right?
Yes.
yes, that's all.
and dry.
Can you maybe find out from Betsy where that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, because that'd be a nice, well. Yeah, because she's the only one with we should ask Betsy to find a way to define her as where, I mean, with all these line items to what she's actually getting paid. Because she's actually now 4 different departments.
Right.
I know we have them all listed out, but should she be a single line item?
I mean, each one
Well, I mean, you
is
could
a
actually,
separate job.
In the past, were there separate secretaries for, I think there were, right? You had
Yeah.
a different secretary for zoning, a different secretary for budget,
we had different
people.
people.
Right. So I don't think you'd want to combine it now, because I think eventually you could see that again.
Yeah.
But again, what shows on our worksheet here, that we just
But I have a feeling,
can't have that.
no, but I don't think it's under town clerk either. I just don't know where it is.
That's,
Yep.
but if she's doing the job and they're already getting paid and we're not paying her out of there, I mean, that can go to $1, let's go where, because we're showing she, her
Or
getting
pull it
paid.
from there. and-
We're showing
Yeah.
she's getting paid other places, so
Yeah.
why is it not? So that's another little note for Betsy,
Got it.
it's right up there, right?
Already wrote it down.
So line 121. I budgeted 400, went over 1866.
Same thing. It's reimbursable by applicant,
So should
So
that
then
whole
zero
line-
that out.
or put $1.
Is that the same could be said? No, the office supplies, no, that's not it.
But I got a question for that. It's being reimbursed.
So it's showing up on the revenue side.
Right. But, like on some of these here for zoning or whatever like this, we send out the public notice and we do all this, you know, under the advertising for this particular meeting, and the person doesn't show up and decides to cancel. Are we allowed to, again, I don't know this, again, not saying a legal question that we need to answer, but since the guy never had a case, or the couple, or whatever you wanna say, never had a case, how do we go and charge him for what we've already expensed out advertising? That's why, I'm only questioning that, because when you say we put it for $1,
How many cancellations do you typically have?
again, I'm not zoning,
No, but for planning board, even.
well, planning board things get pushed and pushed and pushed, I mean, it's, there's stuff.
They need to pay for it up front to
But
make
this,
it
I'm
happen.
talking about the zoning, we're not
Yeah.
talking about planning, we're on zoning.
No, I know.
A zoning could be totally different for somebody, you send out, the guy wants to build a 10 by 20 shed, you know, he's over the 144 square feet for this, and he's 40 feet from his property line, right? And then he goes, and when he comes in and fills out the application, now we should write a check for all the abutters right there on the spot, you know? That's the way the case works, gotta have to be clarified, because I'm not 100% sure, but if that's the way it works, then yeah, we can put the line item as $1, because they're automatically paying for it. And that's how I think it works. But just to be clarification, why, and I ask that, the reason why is because why do we have an expenditure of $1,866? If it's going the way that I think it's supposed to be going, where the applicant pays up front, then there shouldn't be any money there, the town expenditure. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do get what you're saying.
So why do we have a line number there if you're supposed to be paying up front for your application?
Because they get the money in, but then,
Town has to spend the money.
but then
on the
Betsy
advertising.
gets an invoice once,
She can't have them invoice the taxpayer directly.
So, but right now, year to date on 115, we should be at 0, if everybody's already paid. Or is there $1,800 sitting out there? you know, you wanna come in, you wanna put you need a zoning ordinance, you know, and you need to pay for all your abutters, and you need to pay the $50 for the, you know, the fee and whatever that goes along with it.
Yeah, but this is just goes out. This doesn't show goes ins at all.
No, this is just the
Yeah, it's
expenditure.
just going out.
Oh, so
We're
like,
not gonna put an offsetting revenue against an expenditure.
so if they come in to Betsy or who, however, into the office and they give the check, but then Betsy has to turn around and then write a check to the post office or whatever to put the certified letters out, that's it shows up as a bill even though we just took the
But
form of
again,
payment.
wouldn't the number be zero, cause we're just transferring money? Why is it 1866?
Because I think we take it in and then we make sure that all the proper abutters are met and everything like that. I guess it's more of a question that,
Well, again, we just asked to like put it to $1 or whatever, so
correct.
again, we're taking a line item that supposes at this present day, we have $1,800 spent to put to $1. Question is why?
Because we didn't necessarily budget that $1,800 was gonna be coming in as a revenue on the revenue side, so.
It hasn't yet. So for zoning board advertising, it's revenue 0. Application fees are 35.20.
If year-to-date, again, if year-to-date the budget comes to zero, then I don't see why we're not back to zero. But right now is what I'm reading today, as of 11/15, that line item is $1,800 that we spent this year. That's why I don't see it to be proficient for us to put it to $1, if you can't tell me where.
But I guess so back to the plan, and the reason I asked planning board is because you're on the planning board. So for the planning boarding advertising number, year-to-date, that's at 21.46, we dropped it to $1.
Again, I don't, that's, you know, you'd have to ask Alana. She takes in the money. She's the one filling out the application. She knows where all that is. I don't know that exactly, the full expenditures of how they diverse everything out. I can tell you all about ordinances, but exactly how we charge everybody, I don't know that to 100%. But to your question, Tim, good question.
Because that's at 0 as well.
Right,
for
zero
for
that.
revenue.
For what?
For planning board advertising and postage, but they're both at 0. But planning board revenue and planning board legal, so I'm wondering if Betsy's combining those revenue streams and not separating out. It's a total of $19,000.
What's the ZBA application fees going to?
That's the
That's
other
what we
piece.
need to
I have a
find out.
feeling it's not broken out. It's just
Right.
all combined into one fee,
Probably
right?
part of that advertising.
Exactly.
Because probably the application has an advertising piece and
So once we have an answer to that, we can go back and see if we need to revise those $1 figures for all of those expenses that are reimbursable.
Okay.
Are we set with zoning?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Town hall, other buildings?
So the one question I had here is the $10,000 part-time maintenance person. We've never, I mean, I don't see 2021, 22 expenses in there, but I don't think we've ever spent that. So I'd say drop that down to $1.
Well,
Till-
we've
no,
never had
if you're
anybody fill it.
Yep. I know.
So, but we're looking to try and fill it.
Yep.
Are we still advertising for it?
It was advertised until today.
Well, that's a good reason to have a conversation about that, then.
Yeah.
If we're not gonna put something, then I'd absolutely put it to $1. If we're gonna re-advertise for it, I don't think we
Well, we got a couple of different things. We've got that,
We have applicants for consideration.
yeah,
But we have the other money stream, the,
got the warrant article for the,
That's for this year.
40,000.
yeah, and then the other warrant article for, well, we've spent a lot of that on
Yeah,
repairs
the other
already.
one was for the building maintenance fund.
So, I wouldn't touch that one just yet, till we figure out.
I'd put a big star beside it.
Yeah.
You don't even wanna flag it, you wanna star it.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
Wow.
I don't have
hey,
that.
I'm telling you,
Excel doesn't have a star.
stars are possible
Asterisks.
with a negative
They cover it
10K next to it.
Line 127, do you think you'll hit the 6,000 mark?
No, we've been ordering less supply than what was ordered in the past. Right now, I'm just doing a quick check. We're not stocking as much as we have in the past, so.
At $4,500?
What's that?
Put that number at 4,500? Instead of 6?
What about 1,000?
Okay, that's
Drop
fine.
it to 5.
Yeah. I think we're probably,
supplies, two
I
of
think we
that.
could reduce it to 5,000.
Right.
Did you say we take $5,000 off it?
That's what I thought he said.
That's what I thought you said.
Is that what you, no, that's not.
I was like, wow, that's going pretty great. Okay.
Why is recycling maintenance under here and not under,
Because this is all other buildings, or
but they
town
have,
hall and other buildings, it's a compilation
Kind
of
of the
everything.
building.
but they have a maintenance line item under recycling.
I think maintenance is for the equipment.
Oh, okay.
This is specifically for the building.
I mean, all of these line items need to go up by $100,000, but, so, talking about cutting them is painful, but.
What caused it to go over this year, the one, line 130?
I don't have the exact breakdown.
But you don't expect to be over next year?
Recycling maintenance building, didn't we add insulation? Didn't we fix a bunch of,
You are correct, yes. For the new heating system, we needed to do the vapor barrier and,
right.
yes.
Right, but that's a pretty small increase.
Well, we're actually keeping it level,
Right. It's a one-time deal, though.
but, you know, again,
But there's other maintenance items that need to be dealt with. I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
the buildings are maintenance.
Nightmare. Kinda like this building.
they did start some interior painting. I know that they're talking about doing exterior painting. There's a concrete pad that needs to be replaced going into the garage.
So, line 133, it's over, is that because of the rodent and fire extinguishers and all that?
Yes. Rodent control is,
Big one.
and also,
The
What's
old,
going on with, yeah, the,
I think there was additional cameras that were added.
I'm sorry?
There was additional cameras that were added for the community center. There's 2 exterior ones, so there was some one-time fees added into that.
So is the SAU one part of that as well? Because that's over.
No, the SAU is,
It's the one below, Old Town Hall.
correct.
I'm sorry?
That's the one below that, the next line, 134.
Right. 134.
I'm sorry, I've already jumped ahead, okay. Ooh. Line 135,
New
That was-
furnace, water softener.
okay.
Water softener, new furnace, we added the cameras, we changed the locks out.
Were the doors fixed, the
They did have some door maintenance.
overhead doors? Sensors, I think it was, wasn't it?
I don't know if that's included in here, I would assume it
Okay.
is.
But were they
But
fixed though?
that could, I believe so.
Okay. We don't need that coming down on somebody, it's why, you know, it's those heavy doors.
But all one-time fees. Hopefully.
What's the $2,500 for the next line, 136 for the old fire maintenance?
That would be the old fire station. There was nothing in there budgeted. I put it in there as a placeholder for some maintenance to be done to it, hopefully with some offsetting rental income.
Well, what are offsetting rental income? Be able to zero that out
Yes.
and put a line item for one?
If you don't want me to account for the rental income on the revenue side, that would be the way to do it.
Okay, now, okay, that's, because yeah, if you put that in the revenue side, then it'll bring this down, it'll even it out as a zero anyways, if you flip it out.
Right.
But again, we only signed a 6-month deal.
With the option to go longer.
And in 6 months, that rental
again,
income
they could
will
say,
take care of.
you know,
the
She was ready to pay for the entire year. But we said 6 months just to try it out. It may not work for us, who knows?
may not work for them either.
Yeah.
We did them a favor.
Yeah.
So 136, you wanna drop down to,
We can put it back down to $1, and like I said, just not show the rental income on the revenue side of it.
whatever works.
Yeah, but now, so, again, I'm thinking about you right now. Is it easier for your math?
I'm looking at it from a transparent side. I mean, as of right now, it looks like we're not gonna invest anything into that building. And what you're trying to push forward is that we are,
And that was identified as one of the critical buildings.
correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, definitely a still potential usable building, you know, for, I think you should keep it the way it is, knowing that, and put a note on the side, you know, where it's, instead of saying old fire station in the narrative, potential money coming from, so anybody that reads this, from rentals. So that it reminds you also that it's something that's
To
gonna
look on the
zero
revenue
out
side of it, okay.
under the revenue side.
There's only been $270 spent in the library building.
So wait, there's another question right there to start talking about. The library, remember when the building department was here? The library was mentioned that there was trees that they wanted to be cut, and there was stuff, that didn't happen last year.
They did have trees cut.
Did they?
It came out of they paid for it.
Okay, that's probably why I didn't know that, that's good.
There's a lot of expenditures that the library has picked up. So there's,
The shed, right?
That was donated, or? They were just out there doing the, driveway and intersection surveying that they needed to do to get it paved, to request to get it paved this year.
So do we leave line 138 the way it is? I think is what you were getting at.
Yeah. The pit, Smoke Street Electric, why that not as line 147 shows almost 1,000 under.
I think a lot of these were estimated with the potential of electricity rate increases.
Gonna say, 'cause all the
I mean, the only
electric,
thing that's
we're off
over there is
$1,100.
just,
libraries was way down. This building was down.
Well, this building has the,
the solar panels.
right. So do we need to like maybe tighten up some of these budgeted electrical number, I can't even speak. Tighten up some of these budgeted electrical numbers, like if we think rates are gonna be stable, shaving off a little bit here and there, getting a little bit closer to where they could or should be.
Why was the library down so far?
I would ask Betsy about these because I'm just wondering if we're off a billing cycle or two when it comes to electric. Because I can say as a homeowner, I haven't seen my electricity drop that much year over year.
The only thing makes sense is this one with the solar
Right.
panels.
But everything else dropping by 15 to 20% from this year to last year. I don't know. I guess. I'm just wondering if we're missing a billing cycle or two.
You know, last year, Ben, do you remember we were sitting there talking about this? We anticipated a lot of things last year under, I call it natural resources, being electricity, oil, propane,
Being higher this year.
Yeah.
significantly going up on our budget. Because they're saying here, you know, if this goes up, you know, coal's gonna go up, or the power station's going up, electric, and so I think that since we're looking at the budget numbers, that we anticipated a larger, like even our gas lines, you look at our gas lines for the highway department, we didn't spend as much because we expected
Prices to be up.
$4 a gallon or $5 a gallon in gas, 'cause that's where we were at that point last year. Not sitting at $3 a gallon for gas this year, you know.
Well, there's other variables with that too, because we haven't had a full highway department either, so there's less vehicles being used.
Right, but again, we did, our thought process
Yeah,
was
yeah,
we
no.
were increasing everything to fit the time of where we were sitting there. Because even last year, going into the winter season, remember PSNH and all them were calling for a 15-20% increase in your electric bill. So we
Oh, we had
were,
rolling blackouts.
we were enrolled, right, again, so we anticipated last year in this budget items, these numbers to be significantly, is I think the reason why we're seeing an offset. But is there $4,000 in numbers there to be cut? Could be.
I mean, specifically looking at this building, that, you know, sitting at 24,000. There's some margin there, I don't know.
Well, I think this
Well,
margin.
I did
will-
reduce that some.
Yeah, it was 30 last year.
Yeah,
But maybe we can cut each of those a bit further.
but to your point, make sure that we're seeing what we should be
Right.
seeing. I don't wanna be like, oh yeah, and then be like, oh, we
The
didn't
last
have the
bill we
numbers.
got was September.
But like the pit being way off, and maybe they're just not out there, which is fine, I'm just curious, like, were they out there for a period of time or not, or, I don't really know what that,
It would be for the fuel cubes and the light that's over there. The post light.
$2,000 seems like a really high budget for that.
Well, I would recommend cutting 500 out of that one, line 147.
You what?
Cut $500 out of line 147. Gives us a little bit of wiggle room so we can look at it again next year,
Yeah,
if everyone's in agreement with that.
sure, start there.
Again, I think we could potentially cut them all if you can just ask Betsy if we're on
Yep. how many more bills
Yeah.
are left to post.
Right, because we got five, I mean,
Well, I can say on the personal side, for PSNH, twice this year, we didn't get a bill for 2 months. But we got a bill for for 1 month for the 2 months.
Thanks.
Yeah. Like, wow, sweet, we didn't use any power last month.
Can't mess with the heat numbers too much.
Yeah, I mean, the new fire station was questionable, and then it seemed like we had some surplus in this building, so I increased one, offset it by the other. You know, the one thing that we did not have in our favor last year was the propane and the heating oil did not go out for bid in the transition. So we did get some competitive pricing, so hopefully, as long as we don't have excessive consumption, these numbers will come in low, but honestly.
Is the
don't
fire
know.
station, you bump the number up, is it just because we're staffed more, like the building's heated higher more? Or is it the new boiler uses more? Or-
Good question.
What's your question?
Why the fire station is using more, if the new boiler uses more, or if it's because of
Well,
staffing.
that could have been the old boiler,
Right.
and we just haven't seen a full year of the new boiler.
I just to know if we maintain the building differently with people in there 24 hours a day now. I don't know if any of the rooms temperatures are changing. 'Cause they sleep upstairs, they have the office areas now, so if anything changes, obviously you never let the building get too cold, because the equipment always has to be
Right.
maintained, ready to roll, but
yeah, but that hasn't changed. It's only 2 rooms, and each room's a 12 by 12 room, so it's not like it's, I don't know.
just asking.
Well, when I look into the electrical end of it, I can just see how much of that expenditure happened at the beginning part of the year to determine whether it was the old versus new heating system.
Yep.
$153, we could probably take a little bit out of. We don't wanna knock much out, but
Seems to stand, you could bring that down to, what, 2,500 round? Maybe you can go down further, I don't know. Tough thing on a heat number like that, a bill like this, right, is we're hitting the cold season now, so we still have 6 weeks to, or
yep, we do.
4 weeks. 4 weeks to the end of the year to burn that up.
You could easily hit another $1,000. Leave it alone?
For now,
Which one?
Just like highway
All
heat.
of the heat.
until we.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have a question. We have a dumpster outside of here.
Two.
That we pay, we have 2. Now apparently we have a regular.
There's a
dumpster.
cardboard and a regular.
And we don't have the cardboard go down to our own facility, so we're paying. Yeah, I'm just trying to think. We're paying to remove the trash here, and we had why do we have the cardboard one here?
For cardboard, we do have quite a bit.
Does it,
I would imagine the food pantry alone probably generates a ton of cardboard.
is it like less, or do we actually, can that like, is it recyclable, like to put to the other facility, or am I? Like to reduce the cost, if it's something, do we get money back for the corrugated cardboard?
No.
We're paying to go to that.
Everything still?
Yeah.
Just trying to wonder where the,
If the cardboard gets any sort of wet,
It's done.
junk.
I just, we pay here and then we pay over there, and just
See, if we had
wondering
that $10,000 maintenance guy, maybe we can get him a little pass to go over and throw the stuff in the dump for us when the trash comes, but,
Well, you just have one of the recycling guys come down the truck and pick it up.
every Monday?
Sure, why not?
It's there, I love that job.
We need a place to be able to stockpile it here.
You don't wanna.
We already got a
stockpile. It's
rodent problem. We don't
No,
want that
it's a
to-
rodent thing, it's a
Yeah.
fire hazard, like you don't wanna stockpile, I'm just,
A lot of it is coming from the food pantry, so even though it's cardboard, it's probably got like frosting and
whatever.
sugary cardboard.
I just see an extra, additional $3,200 just for dumpsters here.
You know, that actually came up 2 years ago, I think, during the budget. That was one of the things is where they're like, let's cut this out. But again, the thing is that we couldn't figure out how to get the trash from there to there. And you think, wow, it's only 2 miles down the road or 3 miles down the road, but that 3 miles is $3,000. Because no one's volunteering to do it.
No.
So
The cleaning company shows up, I mean, they gotta just get rid of trash. and
sure.
Obviously, the food pantry and their boxes that they go through.
Does the police department use, the cleaning,
But,
the cleaning people do the police department also, right?
correct.
Yeah, so there's trash is out there too, so yeah.
They did do the fire too? No.
And that's not covered under,
It's possible we could cut recycling heat a little bit. Use the waste oil burn a little bit heavier.
That's on its last legs, if I recall.
Actually, I heard it was
was-
just serviced and
It
it
was
doing
just
fine.
serviced.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's
but you know,
old.
there could be another reason for that is the fact that's, again, not to be Mr. Negative here, but that's what I am tonight, is the amount of people changing their oils and bringing it there might be limited to the amount of the oil they
You
could
got
spend.
more oil down there than you know.
Oh my God.
So why are we burning it?
I think they do.
They do.
Just, there's only so much you can burn. They're not gonna turn the heat on in the summertime.
Well, it doesn't make any sense if we're having a heat bill like here, then we're running, we have all this oil to burn.
They must have what? 10 barrels, 12 barrels right now?
2 full tanks, 500 gallons there, there's probably close to 1,000 gallons down there.
Don't we need special permitting for X amount of, that's considered hazardous after a certain.
Let's not go there.
That is a good question, though.
why
What's the? Do you have to mix in a certain amount of good oil with the oil people are dumping?
No, because I think that's for, I think it's for diesel.
Well, I think one heats part of the building and then the other furnace heats the other part, but maybe the waste burner handles the big bay and out back maybe. And the other furnace just heats kind of
front,
the
the
office
office.
area. Bathroom.
Right, but their heat bill's almost the same as the library, and the library is used.
A lot more, and it's,
I wouldn't want
Granted, I'll give you, it's more modern and more like energy efficient, but still, it's a very small area that they're heating at one facility versus the other, which also is being supplemented by recycled oil. The number does seem high. Charlie Fourth.
so let's cut it.
I agree we probably could, but I'm trying to figure out why the number is.
There was deliveries in February, March, and May.
Oh, but the waste oil heater is only used when they're there, right? And then the other heating system kicks on,
Overnight, keeps it,
right, it also keeps on Tuesday,
Yeah.
Wednesday.
But if we're only at 13, whatever, and they're budgeted for 35, maybe we can drop that down to 25 or,
Even if we dropped it to 3,000.
Yeah.
Knocks
I
out
mean, they're not even
506.
close. They're not even close. 1,300's not even,
but chances are, there's gonna be at least one more, there's gonna be a fill up at some point before
Right, which is gonna be
2024.
another $500-600.
But that's still under two.
Still, yeah.
Right.
Let's make it 3,000. Cut 562.
Well, let's go a little crazy, let's make it 750, let's cut off.
Sure.
I mean,
What do you want to put it at, then?
2,700?
Done.
I know that sounds weird, but these little numbers like this are gonna start to make a difference.
We're almost down below 4.
I'd like to go back to the library electric,
Okay.
line 143. So, they budgeted for 7,350, they've only used to date 3,626. I think we can probably cut some from their budget, at least 1,500. Still give you enough of a cushion.
I think with the electric, though, I think we just need to get clarification before we start cutting the electric is,
I thought we just agreed we weren't gonna cut too much on the heat.
no, he had a point on the electric that it just, the numbers don't look right. They look way too low.
but again, if you guys last year, when you were doing the budget, had numbers that were wicked high, because you were anticipating it being really high.
Right.
But again, if we just get clarification as far as when's the last bill that we got for the electric, because all of the electric seems low.
Yeah, if you're just basing it off their numbers, the average looks like it's 329, which I know that's way too low.
So the electric at the library runs between we're just gonna do an average here, hold on. Because it runs anywhere from $489 to $303
So it's under 500.
by 9. Average about, let's just say average $370 a month. So $44.40 for 12 months.
So even if we do cut 1,500, we're still giving them that cushion.
Yeah.
You had to make it $5,000 even.
Yeah. Steve?
Sure.
I'm good.
I have a detailed budget report that I can pull up, but it only goes through, it looks like it's for expenditures only through September.
Yeah, you're right, it's gonna add up, little by
You
little.
moving on?
I'm good, we're moving on. I mean, cemeteries, what are you gonna do?
Well, my question for cemeteries is, now that I look at this, why are we
Over?
almost $3,000 higher if it's primarily mowing? Because it rained so much, the grass grew so good.
Before we go into the cemeteries, do we want to look at potentially dropping the community center electricity? I know you already dropped it from the budget from last year down to 24, but we're,
What's the monthly bill here? It's gotta be considerably higher. You still got another month.
Even if you brought it
I
to like,
scrolled too far.
Yeah, if we could take $2,000 off that number, it's good. I mean, put it to 22.
yeah.
Yeah?
I don't have it pulled up. Scrolled too far, it's like a 500-page report.
I averaged it out to 1,700 a month, comes out to 20,400.
So you wanna knock that down to 22?
22. Just make sure to keep the solar planters clean.
Hope for a sunny winter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cemetery.
so we're,
I feel like you just cap the cemetery, the mowing. It is what it is.
community center runs anywhere from, well, we have the, solar impact.
We gotta buy that out this year.
What?
Solar
876.
panels.
What about them?
They're, the
They're due to
contract.
be purchased this
Yeah.
year.
They need to be purchased this year?
That'll be a warrant article.
Anywhere from $200 to $400 for this building.
What's that?
It's anywhere from $200 to $263 to $400, but, obviously in the January, February, and March, they were higher. They were $1,800, $1,300. And then we've got the solar offset, so I want to look at the bills before I,
Putting that on hold? Okay.
well, no, I think you're probably fine at the 22. If there's additional
We
to
can
cut,
it further.
yeah, if we
Okay,
need to cut it further, then.
Good. So are we good with the building department? All other buildings? Move on the cemeteries
For now.
for now. So we're gonna move on to the cemetery. And I don't know, what do you guys want to spend another 5 minutes on this then? Because we still have non-public. You want to
Give it 5 minutes and then go to the non-public of about it.
Again,
I know we gotta keep, just brief that. Physically, I may not be able to stay longer than this. I'm gonna put myself back to bed.
It's the will of the board, whatever, you know, because I don't know, we got a lot to cover in non-public, so.
we have two major departments that are right in front of us.
All right, let's hit it.
Let's do the little ones here.
Yeah.
Cemeteries, yeah, was mowing up, hell yeah.
Mowing, and there was tree removal too.
God, I mowed
I'm sorry?
There was tree
Twice as
removal
much this year as I have
too.
in
There was
any other
some limbs that came down, and
Okay.
I think it was in the North Cemetery.
That was South Cemetery.
South, was it
Yeah.
south?
South is there, north is on, no, not Guile.
Garland.
Garland,
Garland's, there you go.
one of the
You,
towns.
you live up that way.
Two big Garland.
What?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna move on to the insurance. I don't
All
know.
right, so we want to leave the cemeteries alone?
Yeah, there is perpetual care that
Alright.
offsets some of that.
Okay. I don't think we could do anything with insurances, can we?
No, there's policies.
Yeah.
Have we farmed it out? I mean, we can't, well, I suppose,
Have we what? Have we put it out for,
bid.
no. For
They come up
Primex,
for renewal.
annually,
When?
annually, calendar year.
So it's coming up.
These rates, yeah, it's too late to put it out now.
So something to look at for next year.
I think we should.
Yeah. You know, put it out there, get 3, whatever. And then
Right.
Make it, yeah. So something,
Who's that
make a
carrying
note for that
now?
for next year.
Primex.
I don't, that's gonna be hard to beat.
We're stuck with Primex
Yeah,
anyways.
yeah.
Have you figured out her line 173 for the police department, how that, did that number?
Yes, I was missing an entire position.
Found him. I was hoping that
You guys
was,
wanna roll right into the police, or you wanna wait for another day?
Well, we got all of us sitting here today.
Okay.
yeah, let's just keep checking right now.
Well, line 189 for gasoline, we think now that we're over using Smoke Street, that the cost will be lower. If we have any type of, for the past 2 months now that the WEX card, they're not using that card anymore. Any idea as far as what we can compare what they're using now, what we're paying now versus the 2 months prior?
I can do a comparison and just see what, you know, I can do like a month-to-month comparison and see. I mean, realistically, they're not far off from what was budgeted.
No, I know, but I think the whole point of the cube was that we're gonna save money by having
Right,
it over there.
yeah.
I think we should get a full year with that out there and make a better determination for next budget. See what the savings are, if any. But they do have 5 cruisers. And they're not the only ones using the highways, using it too, right, over there?
Minimal.
Highway is now?
Yeah.
There's fire,
No,
so the utility truck doesn't,
Utility trucks diesel.
is it? Okay.
Everything in the fire department is.
Okay, good to know, thank you.
Getting that ambulance yet?
Yeah, where we at with that?
That was weird, eh? Sorry.
We got a snicker and a no comment.
we don't have it yet, we don't have it yet. The last time that Matt Curry reported on it, there was pictures of it decaled on Sugarloaf's Facebook page, but it wasn't delivered as we anticipated mid-October or November, so we'll be hopeful for December.
Can we remove line 198 entirely and put it to a warrant article?
No. I wouldn't be in favor of that. They need a constant rotation of vehicles. And if one year the voters decide that they don't want to do it, now you gotta hang on to a cruiser. It's gonna be much older. The wear and tear, they won't, the constant breakdown. So I would keep that as in their budget.
At some point, we're gonna have to move some stuff out of,
And again, yeah,
and put it into
we
warrant articles.
haven't, you know, I know what you just said. We haven't touched the envelope yet.
No.
We're not even, again, even from what I know, I have an idea of what the number, she's gonna come in for numbers wise, there's still a huge amount that needs to be taken out of here.
Right.
We're just barely even hit 100 tonight. I don't even think we're even halfway.
No, we're at 405 right now,
So it's we still need,
$405,000.
is potentially. Again, not adding revenue and stuff like this. Let's hypothetically say it's 300. We still got
A lot.
300 to find. And where we sit here and we say, no, we don't want to do that, that might not be the option that we're gonna be able to take.
Yep.
And if people say why, again,
So are you willing to risk having a cruiser break down and responding to a call and not get there?
No,
You know, yeah, but during the day, there's court, there's training, there's all kinds of things. One's always out for maintenance.
well, Ben, if you can show me someplace else for another 50,000.
I just think when you start cutting stuff like a cruiser, or even if the fire, if they had a utility vehicle up, I wouldn't recommend cutting that either. I'm not saying that they do, they don't have one, but
We always have in the past, though,
well,
put those large money items on the warrant article.
only fire trucks, because they have a,
Longer lifespan.
right, but the utility truck is like the
Right.
same price as a cruiser almost. Mm-hmm. So, well,
Be more.
give or take, so.
By the time you equip it.
But right, yeah, the same thing we do is the fire department allocates $50,000 every year
Every
to
year.
build a kitty up for the fact of when the new $500,000 or $750,000 truck comes, we have,
You're not
Yeah,
putting
just
it into
pulling
the
it out.
budget one year, yeah.
where we have X amount already, the plan is to have it basically paid for. And that's how we've done it for the past, like, 3 fire trucks we purchased. We didn't have to, no money came out of the budget because it was already all basically,
But with this, it doesn't matter, because you're doing it every year, regardless, if you put the $50,000 or $60,000 in a warrant article, or if you do put it in the budget,
and again, the only reason, again, you know, as I'll say to Steve, where you said, no, this town supports its emergency personnel. When they ask for money, the town, I don't recall ever on any warrant article that said police, that's ever been voted down.
But if,
And I don't want to use that as, I mean, not saying this, but again, that's,
of anything that's gonna get passed.
if anything's gonna get passed, that's a ticket item that I'd feel really confident that will automatically. You know, the town said, sure, let's give them all cameras and stuff like that, which I think they need, and, you know, and tasers, and those are all warrant articles, which the town easily voted in. I mean, it wasn't even a question. I think it was like 700 to 100 or something. It was,
Those dollar figures are much less than a cruiser.
well, they were pretty expensive.
Yeah, but not as much as a cruiser. And part of it was, off a grant, some of that was,
right.
Sure, yeah.
We paid for most of it with a grant. But maybe we should start thinking about doing the same thing with the cruisers as we do with every other piece of equipment that we buy. Put X amount of dollars away every year.
no, they're replacing a cruiser every year.
Yeah, it's the same amount, that's what
every
I'm saying,
year.
it's the same amount every year.
Yeah.
So you'd actually be putting more aside.
Except for the cruiser becomes more expensive every year.
Right, but the cruiser that, like when I talked to her, the one that's supposed to come off has like 89,000 miles on it, the one that's at year 5 right now. So I get you're saying it most likely wouldn't get pushed off. It would just move the money into something that we would have to remember each year until the year that somebody forgets to do something. And
Well, unless somebody proposes a deliberative that it gets added back in as a line item.
right. I see what you're both saying. At the end of the day, I think that we would end up with the cruiser. The town would end up that way. It would knock $51,000 off from the line item we need to get down. But it's a risky proposition, but generally speaking, once the $50,000 warrant articles are pretty easy to pass, because they're like, your taxes only go up by like .000 bugged in, and it's like, sure, whatever. It's like, should have just left that in. But the 4% tax cap tells us we gotta make the number lower, which is what you were saying.
This is what I was talking about. Now we're gonna be looking at cutting services and.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think we're,
But everything's a service, Ben.
Yeah.
I mean,
we
services
can't put
everywhere.
we can't put their salaries up for it. The cruiser's a tangible thing, they can understand that. I have flagged it as definitely something where if we need to go back and we need a big ticket item, I have thought about the same thing.
We need like 4 big ticket items. And we haven't found them.
Well, I think you can, once we get to the fire department, I think we can move that chief's salary into a warrant article.
We don't know, because we don't know what it's gonna cost. We haven't hired one. That's a hypothetical number. Maybe we get that chief in there for 40,000, maybe we get it for 50, we don't
That's a big
know.
number, though, that can come out. I think it can come out.
Well, for this,
I think it could be reduced.
is there anything else we want to talk about in the police before we jump
Yeah.
ahead to the fire department?
Thank you, Matt. Thank you.
Anything else? I don't, we'd have to go back through, like maybe look at it offline and see. I mean, she went through and she obviously mentioned that her prosecutor, she's trying to, what we did throughout everything this year, we have marginally made enough pay increases to retain good people. So
Right.
that's what she's trying to do, is not lose people where she needs. So the only thing that we could potentially do for the police department is put the cruiser on warrant. And I get what you're saying, Ben, but I think
Yeah,
it's
I
a,
can't get behind that. But okay.
I think,
We're all entitled to our opinion. You're right.
but it That's the only way that, we'll move forward with that one later. I don't wanna do it now.
Okay.
Yeah, flag it.
Now, if you wanna jump ahead into the fire department. Like the 205, I don't see how it, well, 'cause it says salary. That's not the. That whole thing would have to come off it and be part of a warrant anyway. Anything in addition.
What are you referring to?
On 205 for the bump up.
Well, I think it would have to be, I don't think you can include them both. The dollar amount would be a separate warrant article.
The warrant article would probably state that if it were to pass, it would basically change this effective.
You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you can include both items in a warrant article. A dollar amount and then changing how the structure works.
No, it'd have to be two separate
Yeah.
ones.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I'm saying you couldn't have it in here to do something that you haven't approved or said you're.
Right. Unless it gets approved, you can't spend it.
But it, like, I don't even see putting it in here, because that's like another whole battle down there. Like I think you gotta just take that out.
Take it out and just level fund it.
Yeah,
And then we can chat about the warrant article.
because you're like, it's almost, it's placeholding a police cruiser. It's just a giant placeholder for something that's not anything besides a discussion, so I don't think it can be there. I understand its intent, but just level fund it down, and then that whole thing's gonna have to be budgeted over, because if not, you would end up with this huge budget for something that, you only want that budget if it becomes, more full-time or whatever. So, I mean, that drops you down, what, 58, 60,000-ish?
58, yeah.
Whatever the percentage is on the budget difference on the right.
So you're saying just leave it at 1140?
Yeah. Does that make sense, anybody?
Yeah.
Any other changes or increase or anything that goes with that is its own separate discussion at that point, but
Well, to be honest with you, I think that the fire budget is under where it really needs to be, but, hopefully we'll get it to where it needs to be in the coming years.
yes. Yeah. There's some,
68,000. That sound right?
whatever it'd be whatever the
Difference is, yeah,
Bottom
68.
line.
58,560.
So why do I have a $10,000 difference?
Are you talking just for the fire rescue?
Just for the chief's salary.
Where do you wanna put that at?
Same as it was last year, $11,440.
Yeah, so which,
Just level fund everything here. Wow,
So it'll bring the bottom
with the
line,
exception of salaries.
611.
is that correct?
Correct. It'd be 611, 220 at the bottom.
Yeah, but the current's 11,440,
Yeah.
proposed was 70, difference is 58,560.
So you're looking at like an 10.9% increase.
But
Yeah.
Okay, all right, yeah. Sorry.
oh, the bottom line. I was like, what?
Yeah, I jumped ahead. I was moving things along progressively.
It is your big ticket item, there, John.
I don't agree with it.
What's that?
Well, we're just talking about a warrant article for the,
Nope.
What are you noping? Just to be clear. John?
Dropping that down to the 11,050.
What do you want it at?
But the point is, we haven't made any type of actual change.
voters haven't approved for that position.
So any type of change, and then if it did get changed, we would change it to there'd be like a sub. If Article 3 is approved, do you approve something like that? I mean, if you have it in there and they don't approve then what do we do with that? John?
I'm thinking.
What is line 204?
Those are the points.
Okay, so that gets paid out like
Yep,
this
that'll be paid
weekend?
out this weekend.
Okay. Is that like a pool thing though, so no matter what, they spend 40,000 like that?
It's just broken out.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking for like the merit compensation pool though.
I mean, there's no doubt we can't hire a fire chief on $11,440, but. But we gotta vote to hire a full-time chief.
Correct.
Or a part-time.
Right.
Our fire department does not require a full-time chief.
No. But that discussion for another day.
But I don't, yeah. I
Day's
don't-
coming real quick.
Yes, it is. All right, any more in the fire department? I'm sorry?
Nope.
No? Okay. Building inspector? Nothing really stands out. Well,
New code books, but. That's it.
nothing there?
We're just back through.
Back to where we started.
Emergency management? That's pretty self-explanatory right there. Okay. Well, we made some progress. We're not where we need to be. We still have some work to do. But, yeah. So, at this point, we're it's safe to say we're done with this and we can move into,
Well, before we go, when are we discussing this next?
This week?
yeah.
Gets presented to
On
the,
our agenda, on Monday. With the other stuff on our agenda. So,
Yeah, we get a full agenda next week.
this gets
Well, 'cause you carry
presented
it
to the
forward.
budget committee on Thursday, right?
Because we were all dead last week.
Well, the budget committee didn't get through the whole budget review either. I mean, I think there was, they touched on maybe a third of the departments.
right,
So that's the intention for this Thursday, is to
finish.
continue on.
Okay.
And so they're looking at it and they're gonna come with some random thoughts or cuts that they have, and then we like see the two things passing. And try to correlate them.
Do we want to plan for another session on December 11th?
I will not be here.
Or a day next week?
Right, doesn't have to be on a Monday.
No.
Tuesday work?
I mean,
Next week, I'm on second shift.
For the whole week, Commander?
Second shift, yeah, 2 to 11.
That's the week of the 4th. What about the week of the 11th? You still on second?
No,
Joan's not here Monday.
I'm just not here that Monday.
Okay.
So we could do the,
I planned my trip out because we were having a meeting on that time, so.
Tuesday, Wednesday of that next week.
I could do Wednesday. Tuesday, I have CIP in this room at 5:30.
On both days or just one?
No, on Tuesday.
So we're looking at Wednesday.
13th. Believe it or not, it's the only day I got, well, that I think I have off.
Well, Matt, if you can't make it, you can,
Yeah, but that was the week before.
the 13th, I potentially can make it. I'd have to double. There's a lot
okay.
I'd have to check. I'll just write a note.
Want to tentatively, or, well, you're not here.
No, he is.
Yeah, he'll be
Hey, it
here.
doesn't matter to me. If there's 4, you get it done.
He's on the 11th.
All right,
We might not have a quorum, but that still doesn't, we still gotta, if we got 4, then
yeah.
make your notes and make sure whoever, if you're not available to be at that meeting, make sure your notes are in on which line item you wanna be, you got the paperwork here.
All right, so folks, you want to tentatively do 13th?
Yep.
Sounds good.
All right, Alan,
Got it.
anything else?
The 13th of December,
Yes.
which is a Wednesday.
Yes. Yes, yes.
Planning board, they meet that?
It doesn't matter.
No, I'm just thinking rooms.
Yeah, planning board would be here, and we'd just have
We
to
just go to the
conference
second
room,
conference
too.
room.
Okay.
I'll miss the planning board meeting for this budget. I think there's a priority that's,
Okay, well, if there's nothing else,
before we go, just to be clear, this is on that Monday, we're gonna have a regular meeting.
yes,
And we're not gonna be discussing this on Monday's meeting.
I think we got a full agenda. And then we'll put the rest off until the 13th, the budget, with hopes that we can cut away some more, make our number.
We'll work on,
I'd tell everybody if we find some time and we get Monday's meeting ends at 8 o'clock, that we might take an hour of our
That's what I
time
was just
to
thinking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
put it towards this year too.
Yeah, we can do that.
You know,
why not?
our meetings probably are gonna be 3 hours every time these next.
I'm good with that. Are we good?
Good as we're gonna get, I guess.
All right, make a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn the,
regular
no,
session.
the regular the planning session.
Okay.
We have a non-public,
Which letter?
Tim Dab-
A and C.
I made a motion. I made a motion to close. Do we need a
I'll
second?
second the motion.
All right, motion made by Tim DeBrio, seconded by John Moran. Roll
Hi,
call.
Steve Welch.
Hi, John Moore.
Ivan Bartlett.
Hi, Tim DeBrio.
I'm at Sherlin.
Okay, make a motion to go non-public.
I'll make a motion to go into non-public RSA 91-A:3, 2A and C.
I second.
Motion made by Matt Sherlin, seconded by Tim DeBrio. Roll call.
Hi, Steve Welch.
Hi, John Moore.
Ivan Bartlett.
Hi, Tim DeBrio.
I'm at Sherlin.
Thank you, Nottingham. Have a good night.
We will immediately